Hello guys, welcome to Ben 10 What If. So in this video, we will see what if Ben 10 was in Star Wars universe. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Universal Displacement. The Omnitrix sparked on Ben's wrist like it was having a seizure. Green energy crackled up his arm, different from anything he'd experienced in 5 years of wearing the alien device. Come on, not now. Ben hissed, slapping the watch face. The dial spun wildly between alien silhouettes, the forest around him illuminated in flashes of emerald light. This wasn't a typical malfunction. The Omnitrix felt hot against his skin, almost angry. One moment he was on a routine patrol in Bellwood's North Woods, and the next, everything just broke. Reality itself seemed to tear apart as the Omnitrix pulled him into a swirling vortex of light. Ben's last thought before unconsciousness claimed him was simple: Grandpa Max is gonna kill me. When awareness returned, Ben found himself floating. Not the peaceful floating of a swimming pool, but the terrifying, endless kind. He was in space. Actually in space. Not good, not good, not good. The Omnitrix responded instantly to his panic, cycling through aliens before settling on the one he needed most. The transformation washed over him in a flash of green light. Jedi. Ben's voice emerged as a high-pitched screech from the manta ray alien's mouth. Jedi could survive in space and move at incredible speeds, exactly what he needed. Only then did Ben notice he'd materialized in the middle of a battle. Massive ships exchanged fire around him, fighters zoomed past, and explosions blossomed silently in the vacuum. Nothing like this existed on Earth. The ships were unlike any human or alien design he'd ever encountered. Where the heck am I? Jedi muttered, banking hard to avoid debris from an exploding fighter. Two small ships screamed past him, one pursuing the other. The lead craft was sleek and seemed to have giant solar panels on the sides, while the pursuer was bulky with a distinctive ball cockpit between two flat panels. The pursuing ship fired, clipping the first vessel's wing. As it spiraled out of control, Ben acted on instinct. Hero time, I guess, he muttered, accelerating toward the damaged ship. The pilot was visibly struggling to maintain control. Ben positioned himself beneath the craft, using Jedi's strength to stabilize it. He could feel the heat of the damaged engines against his back as he pushed upward. Come on, Ben grunted, guiding the ship toward a larger vessel that seemed to have a hangar bay open. The pursuing fighter noticed his intervention and swooped in, weapons charging. Oh no, you don't. Ben fired neuroshock blasts from his eyes and tail, catching the attacker off guard. The energy beam struck the fighter's weapons system, sending it spinning away. With a final burst of speed, Ben managed to help the damaged ship reach the hangar before his transformation timed out. The Omnitrix flashed red in warning. Not now, he pleaded, but the device ignored him. Just as they crossed into the artificial gravity field of the hangar, Ben reverted to human form and dropped to the deck with a painful thud. Dazed, Ben looked up to see dozens of identical men in white armor surrounding him, weapons aimed directly at his face. I come in peace. Ben offered weakly. A soldier stepped forward, his armor distinguished with blue markings. Secure the intruder. And someone figure out what kind of shape-shifting creature this is. Wait, I just saved your buddy. Ben protested as rough hands yanked him to his feet. The changeling is right, Captain Rex, came a voice from the damaged ship as its cockpit opened. A young Togruta female jumped down, her orange skin marked with white patterns, blue and white striped head tails hanging past her shoulders. He helped me evade the separatist fighter. Commander Tano, the captain nodded. All due respect, but we don't know what this thing is. General Skywalker ordered all unknowns contained until identified. I'm not a thing, I'm a person, Ben snapped, trying to activate the Omnitrix again, but it remained stubbornly red. Name's Ben Tennyson. The Togruta, Commander Tano apparently, stepped closer, studying him with narrowed eyes. You don't register in the Force like anything I've encountered before. The what now? Ben asked. Her blue eyes widened slightly. You really aren't from around here, are you? Considering I don't know where here is, that's a safe bet, Ben replied, looking around at the massive hangar bay filled with fighters and those identical soldiers. Last I checked, Earth doesn't have. He gestured vaguely at everything, any of this. Earth, she repeated. Never heard of that system. A chill ran down Ben's spine. System? As in star system? His mind raced. Just to clarify, I'm not on Earth, or anywhere near Earth, am I? I don't know where this Earth is, but you're aboard a Republic Star Destroyer in the Outer Rim territories, she said, watching his reaction carefully. Ben felt the blood drain from his face. That's not even in my galaxy, is it? Before she could answer, a new voice cut in. Ahsoka, who's your new friend? A tall man strode toward them, confidence in every step. He wore dark robes and had a distinctive scar running beside his right eye. Something that looked suspiciously like a lightsaber hung from his belt. Master, this is Ben Tennyson, Commander Tano, Ahsoka explained. He transformed into some kind of manta creature and helped me evade that tri-fighter. Then he just turned human. The man studied Ben with intense eyes. That's a new one, even for me. I'm Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Knight. Ben's jaw dropped. Jedi. Like lightsabers, the Force, may the Force be with you, that kind of Jedi. Now it was Anakin's turn to look surprised. You know about the Jedi but not the Republic. Where I come from, Jedi are fictional characters in. Ben trailed off, the implications hitting him. Either he'd somehow traveled to a universe where Star Wars was real, or he'd lost his mind completely. This can't be happening. The Omnitrix chose that moment to reactivate, beeping and flashing green. Every weapon in the hangar immediately trained on Ben's wrist. Whoa, easy. Ben raised both hands. It's just the Omnitrix rebooting. It's how I transform. That device lets you change shape. Anakin asked, his interest visibly piqued. May I? Hesitantly, Ben lowered his arm, allowing Anakin to examine the watch without touching it. It's not technology one recognize, Anakin murmured. And I know most tech in the galaxy. It's alien tech, Ben explained. Lets me transform into different alien species. 10 originally, but I've unlocked way more since then. Ahsoka crossed her arms. Convenient for a spy. I'm not a spy. Ben protested. I'm a hero where I come from. I protect people. Master, Ahsoka said quietly to Anakin, his presence feels strange in the Force. Not dark, but not like anything I've sensed before. Anakin nodded. I sense it too. He turned to the captain. Rex, have a security detail escort our guest to the medbay. I want a full scan on both him and that device. Then bring him to the bridge. Yes, General, Rex replied. Wait, Ben said. I cooperate, you help me figure out how to get home. Deal. Anakin studied him for a moment before a half-smile appeared. If you're telling the truth, I'll personally help you find your way back. But if you're lying. Ben sighed. Story of my life. Fine, lead the way. The medbay was sterile and efficient, with medical droids that momentarily fascinated Ben before they started trying to scan him. The head medical officer, a human named Kix with a distinctive haircut, grew increasingly frustrated. General, the device is scrambling our readings, Kix reported as Anakin entered. It appears to contain DNA samples from species I've never encountered. That tracks, Ben said from the examination table. Most of my aliens aren't from this universe. Look, can we speed this up? The Omnitrix is fully charged now, and I'm getting antsy. Patience isn't your strong suit, is it? Ahsoka remarked from where she leaned against the wall. Says the girl who crashed her fighter, Ben shot back with a grin. To his surprise, she smiled. I didn't crash. I made a strategic landing with your assistance. If you two are finished, Anakin interrupted, we're heading to the bridge. Admiral Yularen and Master Kenobi will want to hear this. The ship was massive, with endless corridors populated by the identical soldiers, clones, Ben learned, and officers in uniform. The technology was both advanced and somehow retro at the same time. Ben tried not to gawk as they entered a turbolift. So, Ben ventured, you guys fighting a war or something? Ahsoka and Anakin exchanged glances. The Clone Wars, Anakin said. Republic versus Separatists. Been going on for years. Huh, Ben nodded. Got those back home too. Different names, same concept. Bad guys want to take over, good guys try to stop them. Oversimplified, but accurate enough, came a cultured voice as the turbolift doors opened. A bearded man with an air of calm authority stood waiting, hands clasped behind his back. Ben immediately recognized him as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Master, Anakin nodded respectfully. Anakin, Obi-Wan replied, his eyes fixed on Ben. And this must be our mysterious shapeshifter. Ben Tennyson, Ben introduced himself. And technically, I don't shapeshift. I transform using the Omnitrix. He held up his wrist. Obi-Wan's eyes narrowed slightly. Fascinating. Admiral Yularen is waiting. The bridge was a hub of activity, with officers monitoring stations and a large holodeck displaying tactical information. A stern-looking man with a neat mustache turned as they approached. General Kenobi, this is the intruder. Admiral Yularen asked. Ben Tennyson, Ben said before anyone could answer for him. Look, I didn't intend to intrude. My device malfunctioned, and next thing I know, I'm in space watching your ships duke it out. A likely story, Yularen said skeptically. Actually, sir, Ahsoka interjected, I believe him. The Force suggests he's telling the truth, and he did save me from that tri-fighter. Ben shot her a grateful look. If I may, Obi-Wan stepped forward, perhaps a demonstration of your Omnitrix, was it? That might help us understand. Ben hesitated, looking around the bridge at all the armed personnel. You promise not to shoot me when I change. Some of my aliens look pretty scary. Anakin nodded. No one fires unless I give the order. Okay then. Ben activated the Omnitrix, cycling through the holographic displays until he found one that seemed relatively non-threatening. This guy should work. He slammed down the dial, and green light engulfed him. When it faded, a blue, monkey-like alien with 4 arms and wearing a helmet stood where Ben had been. Spider monkey, he screeched, then jumped onto the ceiling, sticking there effortlessly. See? Not so scary, right? The bridge erupted into chaos. Weapons were drawn, orders shouted, and Ben found himself dodging stun blasts. Hey! We had a deal. Spider monkey protested, leaping from surface to surface. Stand down. Anakin bellowed, his voice cutting through the commotion. I said stand down. The firing stopped. Spider monkey hung from a lighting fixture, all 4 arms raised in surrender. Dude, your troops are jumpy, he complained. You turned into an alien monkey and jumped on the ceiling, Ahsoka pointed out, though Ben noticed she hadn't drawn her weapons. What did you expect? Obi-Wan stepped forward, stroking his beard thoughtfully. Most fascinating. And you retain your consciousness in this form? Full mental control, Spider Monkey confirmed, dropping to the floor and transforming back in a flash of green light. I've got way more impressive aliens, but figured starting small was smarter. Indeed, Obi-Wan agreed. Admiral, I believe we can stand down from alert status. Our guest appears to be exactly what he claims. With respect, General, this changes nothing, Yularen argued. Unknown entity with unknown capabilities aboard a military vessel during wartime. Security protocols demand. He was interrupted by an alarm blaring through the bridge. Separatist forces dropping out of hyperspace, an officer called. 3 frigates and support craft. Battle stations, Yularen ordered instantly, all attention shifting from Ben to the emerging threat. The viewport filled with enemy ships materializing out of hyperspace. Ben moved to the window, watching in awe as the space battle formed. They must have followed Commander Tano's fighter, Rex suggested, entering the bridge. Or they detected an unusual energy signature, Obi-Wan said, glancing meaningfully at Ben's Omnitrix. Wait, you think they're after me? Ben asked. The timing is suspicious, Anakin said, studying the tactical display. Admiral, bring us about. Launch all fighter squadrons. Ben watched as the well-oiled military machine sprang into action. Whatever suspicion had been directed at him moments ago was now focused entirely on the enemy. What can I do to help? Ben asked. Stay out of the way, Yularen replied curtly. Actually, Anakin said, a gleam in his eye that reminded Ben uncomfortably of his cousin Gwen when she had a dangerous idea. What other aliens do you have in that watch? Anakin, Obi-Wan warned. Dozens, Ben answered. Some can fly in space, some are super strong, others shoot energy. Could any of them board an enemy ship undetected? Anakin asked directly. Ben scrolled through his mental catalog. Big Chill could. He can turn intangible and fly through solid objects. Perfect, Anakin nodded. Ahsoka, take Ben to Hangar Bay. I need you two to infiltrate that command ship and disable their shields. What? Several voices asked simultaneously, including Ben's. Anakin, you can't seriously be sending a civilian, Obi-Wan started. He's not a civilian, he's a self-proclaimed hero, Anakin countered. Time to prove it. Ben stepped forward. I'll help, but I need to know what I'm getting into. What's on that ship? Battle droids, mostly, Ahsoka explained. Mechanical soldiers. The shield generator will be in the engineering section, heavily guarded. Ben nodded, memory clicking into place. Right, like the ones with the skinny bodies and round heads from the movies. Everyone stared at him. Never mind, Ben said quickly. I can handle robots. Master, are you sure about this? Ahsoka asked Anakin. No, Anakin admitted. But we're outgunned until reinforcements arrive, and this is our best shot. Ben met Ahsoka's skeptical gaze. I won't let you down. You'd better not, she replied, but there was less hostility in her tone than before. Let's move. The hangar was in organized chaos as fighter squadrons launched into the battle raging outside. Ben followed Ahsoka to a small shuttle. This will get us close enough to board, she explained, jumping into the pilot's seat. Can you operate turrets? No, but I've got something better. Ben activated the Omnitrix and transformed. Upgrade. The black and green mechanical alien oozed forward, merging with the shuttle's systems. The entire craft glowed with green circuit patterns. What are you doing? Ahsoka demanded, jumping back as the controls transformed under her hands. Upgrading your ship, Upgrade's voice came through the shuttle speakers. I can merge with technology and enhance it. Just fly, I'll handle weapons and shields. Ahsoka hesitantly retook her seat. This is beyond weird. Says the alien with head-tails wielding laser swords, Upgrade retorted. They're called Leku, not head-tails, she corrected, initiating launch sequence. And they're lightsabers, not laser swords. The enhanced shuttle shot from the hangar with twice its normal speed and maneuverability. Ahsoka's surprise quickly turned to appreciation as she navigated through the battlefield with unprecedented precision. Okay, I'm impressed, she admitted as Upgrade automatically fired on approaching vulture droids, taking them down with enhanced laser cannons. Told ya I was useful, Upgrade replied. Separatist command ship at 2 o'clock. Find us an entry point. There, Ahsoka pointed to a secondary hangar bay. But it's shielded. Not a problem. Upgrade detached from the shuttle systems, reforming into his humanoid shape. Now I need you to crash us. What? Not for real, he clarified. Get close like you're damaged, and when they tractor us in thinking they've caught a disabled Republic shuttle, I'll take care of the rest. Ahsoka's eyes widened. That's actually not a bad plan. Been doing this hero thing a while, Upgrade shrugged, or approximated a shrug with his amorphous body. She cut engines and sent out a distress signal. The Separatist ship took the bait, engaging tractor beams to pull them in. Ready? Ahsoka asked, hands hovering over the controls. Born ready. Upgrade merged with the shuttle again, but this time began overriding systems to make them spark and smoke convincingly. The shuttle was pulled into the Separatist hangar where battle droids approached cautiously. Prepare to be boarded, came a mechanical voice over the comms. Now. Ahsoka whispered. Upgrade separated from the ship, flowing through the shuttle's hull like liquid and reforming behind the approaching droids. Before they could react, he merged with the nearest one, taking control of its systems. Whoa, these are basic, Upgrade commented through the droid's vocabulator. 50s-era robotics with laser guns. He turned the droid's weapons on its companions, blasting them efficiently while Ahsoka burst from the shuttle, lightsabers igniting in a flash of green and yellow. Between Upgrade's possessed battle droid and Ahsoka's lightsaber skills, they cleared the hangar in minutes. That was actually kind of fun, Ahsoka admitted, deactivating one saber but keeping the other ready. See? Dream Team, Upgrade said, detaching from the now useless droid. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest beeped warning. Ugh, timing out. Need to change forms anyway. In a flash of green, Ben returned to human form, immediately activating the Omnitrix again. Going ghost, he quipped, selecting Big Chill. The transformation washed over him, replacing Ben with a moth-like alien with blue skin and large wings. Big Chill, he announced in a raspy, chilling voice. This way we can avoid fighting through the whole ship. Ahsoka shivered slightly as the temperature around them dropped. What can this one do? In response, Big Chill turned transparent and floated through the nearest wall, then poked his head back through. Intangibility and ice powers. Grab my hand. Hesitantly, Ahsoka took his offered hand, gasping as the intangibility spread to her. That feels bizarre. You get used to it, Big Chill assured her. Now, where's that shield generator? 3 levels down, Central Engineering, Ahsoka said, consulting a small holographic map from her wrist device. But we should expect heavy resistance. Not if they can't see or touch us, Big Chill pointed out, pulling her through walls and floors, bypassing entire security sections. They passed through squadrons of battle droids, security checkpoints, and even a conference room where a Neimoidian captain was briefing officers. None detected their presence. This is actually brilliant, Ahsoka whispered as they descended through another deck. We're making incredible time. Told ya, Big Chill replied, then suddenly stopped. Wait. I sense something. You sense something? Ahsoka asked incredulously. I'm the one with force abilities, and yes, there's something, cold ahead. They phased through one final wall and found themselves in engineering, face to face with a bald, pale woman wielding twin red lightsabers. Jedi, she hissed, somehow looking directly at them despite their intangibility. And something new. Big Chill immediately pulled Ahsoka back through the wall they just passed through. Who was that? He demanded once they were out of sight. Asajj Ventress, Ahsoka replied, looking shaken. Dooku's assassin. She must have sensed us through the Force. Great, so my ghost powers don't work on space wizards, Big Chill muttered. New plan needed. The wall beside them suddenly erupted in sparks as a red lightsaber blade pierced through, narrowly missing them. I can sense your fear, little Jedi, Ventress's cold voice came through the wall. And your strange friend's confusion. Run or fight? Big Chill asked, turning solid again. Ahsoka ignited both lightsabers. We fight. We still need those shields down. Fine by me. Big Chill inhaled deeply, then exhaled a blast of freezing vapor as Ventress cut through the wall. The assassin leapt back, avoiding the direct hit, but frost formed on her lightsaber hilts. She snarled, eyes narrowing at the moth-like alien. What manner of creature are you? The kind that's about to cool your jets, Big Chill replied, exhaling another freezing blast while Ahsoka attacked from the flank. Ventress moved with inhuman speed, blocking Ahsoka's strikes while evading Big Chill's ice breath. The cramped corridor limited his mobility, putting him at a disadvantage. This isn't working, Big Chill called to Ahsoka. Need to change tactics. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest beeped as he slapped it. A flash of green light transformed him into a crystalline humanoid with rainbow-reflective skin. Chroma Stone. Ventress momentarily faltered at the unexpected transformation, giving Ahsoka an opening to land a kick that sent the assassin stumbling back. What are you? Ventress demanded again, regaining her footing. Someone who's about to light up your day, Chroma Stone replied, absorbing the emergency lighting from the corridor into his crystalline body. His form glowed with stored energy. Ventress hurled one lightsaber at him. Instead of dodging, Chroma Stone let it hit him directly, and absorbed the energy of the plasma blade. Thanks for the power-up, he said, then unleashed a rainbow-colored energy beam that caught Ventress square in the chest, sending her flying backward into engineering. That was amazing. Ahsoka exclaimed. One of my favorites, Chroma Stone agreed. Come on, while she's down. They rushed into engineering, where battle droids were already responding to the commotion. Ahsoka deflected blaster fire while Chroma Stone absorbed shots and returned fire with amplified energy beams. Shield generator, he called over the chaos. There. Ahsoka pointed to a massive cylindrical machine pulsing with blue energy. On it. Chroma Stone charged forward, smashing through droids. He reached the generator and placed both hands on it, starting to absorb its energy. You fool, came Ventress's voice as she rose from where she'd landed. Overload that, and you'll destroy the entire ship, including yourselves. She's right, Ahsoka called, still deflecting blaster fire. We need to disable it, not overload it. Chroma Stone paused. Little help here. Not exactly familiar with separatist tech. Ventress took advantage of his hesitation, hurling both lightsabers simultaneously. One Ahsoka deflected, but the other caught Chroma Stone in the shoulder, sending him staggering back. Okay, that hurt, he grunted. The control panel. Ahsoka shouted, pointing to a console near the generator. Chroma Stone fired an energy beam at the console, completely destroying it. Alarms immediately blared throughout the ship. Shield failure imminent, announced the ship's computer. Evacuate all non-essential personnel. That works, Chroma Stone nodded. Time to go. Time to go, Ahsoka agreed, backing toward him while fending off attacks. Ventress leapt over the remaining droids, lightsabers spinning in a deadly arc. You're not going anywhere. The Omnitrix symbol beeped again. Oh come on, not now. Chroma Stone groaned. In a flash of red light, Ben returned to human form, utterly defenseless against Ventress's approaching blades. Ben! Ahsoka leapt in front of him, blocking Ventress's attack with crossed lightsabers. The force of the impact drove Ahsoka to one knee. Ben frantically worked the Omnitrix, but it remained stubbornly red. Behind you, he warned as droids approached from the rear. Trapped between Ventress and battle droids, with the Omnitrix recharging, they were in serious trouble. Suddenly, the ship rocked violently as explosions erupted throughout the vessel. Republic forces have broken through, a droid reported. Ventress snarled in frustration, eyes locked on Ben. What are you? She demanded again. Ben met her gaze defiantly. Just a kid with a watch. But trust me, you don't want to see what happens when it recharges. Another explosion, closer this time, rocked the ship. Ventress made a split-second decision, leaping back. This isn't over, she promised before running toward an escape pod. We need to move, Ahsoka said, grabbing Ben's arm. This ship is coming apart. They raced through corridors now filled with panicking battle droids and separatist officers. The Omnitrix remained stubbornly red. Any way to speed that thing up? Ahsoka asked as they dodged falling debris. Not really, Ben replied. Come on, almost to the hangar. They burst into the hangar just as their commandeered shuttle exploded from a falling support beam. Great, Ben muttered. Please tell me you can fly one of those. He pointed to the separatist fighters lined up across the bay. I can fly anything, Ahsoka assured him, running toward the nearest ship. The Omnitrix finally beeped, turning green again. About time. Ben activated it, transforming into a red, four-armed alien. Forearms. He ripped the cockpit open on a fighter, then squeezed his massive frame inside, barely fitting. This isn't going to be comfortable. Stop complaining and fly. Ahsoka called from her own commandeered ship. They launched just as the hangar began to collapse, narrowly escaping the destruction. Outside, the battle had turned decisively in the Republic's favor, with the Separatist command ship breaking apart and the other vessels in retreat. Mission accomplished, Four-Arms grunted into the comm system. Not bad for a kid with a watch, Ahsoka replied, and he could hear the smile in her voice. Back aboard the Republic Star Destroyer, Ben stood before Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Admiral Yularen, having just finished recounting their mission. You faced Ventress and lived, Anakin said, looking impressed. Not many can claim that. You also successfully disabled the enemy shields, Obi-Wan added. Which allowed our forces to turn the tide of battle. Admiral Yularen cleared his throat. While I still have reservations about an unknown entity with your capabilities, I cannot deny you've proven yourself an ally today. So, does this mean you'll help me find a way home? Ben asked hopefully. Obi-Wan and Anakin exchanged glances. We'll try, Obi-Wan said diplomatically. But I must warn you, interdimensional travel isn't exactly our area of expertise. For now, Anakin added, consider yourself a guest of the Republic. We're headed to Coruscant, the capital. The Jedi Council will want to meet you. And figure out what I am, Ben guessed. Can you blame them? Ahsoka asked, entering the room. You turn into aliens no one's ever seen before, and your energy signature is unlike anything in our records. Fair point, Ben conceded. In the meantime, Anakin said, we could use your help. Your abilities give us an edge the Separatists won't be expecting. Ben considered this. Part of him desperately wanted to get home, to his family, his friends, his own universe. But another part, the hero part, recognized that he could do real good here. I'll help while we figure out my way home, he decided. Besides, Ventress seemed pretty interested in the Omnitrix. Better to stay with the people who don't want to dissect me. Wise choice, Obi-Wan nodded. An alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Now what? Ben groaned. Separatist reinforcements, Admiral Yularen reported, checking his datapad. Led by General Grievous himself. Who's General Grievous? Ben asked, noticing how everyone tensed at the name. The Supreme Commander of the droid army, Ahsoka explained grimly. Part cyborg, part organic, all nightmare. And, Anakin added, he collects lightsabers from Jedi he's killed. Great, Ben muttered, activating the Omnitrix. Just what I needed, a cybernetic lightsaber-collecting psycho interested in me. Welcome to our galaxy, Ahsoka said with a grim smile. Ready for round 2? Ben cycled through his aliens, settling on Humongosaur. Hero time, he said, and slammed down the dial. Chapter 2, battle-tested. The green flash of the Omnitrix transformation illuminated the command bridge as Ben's body expanded upward and outward, his skin hardening into thick, tan plates. Muscles bulged beneath the armored hide as he grew to nearly 12 feet tall. Humongosaur. Ben's voice boomed, now deep and resonant as the massive dinosaur-like alien towered over everyone present. Admiral Yularen stumbled back, clearly unnerved despite having just witnessed Ben's abilities during the previous battle. By the Force. Sorry about the height, Humongosaur rumbled, ducking slightly to avoid scraping the ceiling. This guy's got the muscle we need for heavy combat. Anakin circled Ben's transformed state with undisguised fascination. Incredible. The mass differential alone should be impossible. Extradimensional energy storage, Humongosaur explained with a shrug that shifted his massive shoulders. At least, that's what Azimuth told me. We can discuss xenobiology later, Obi-Wan interrupted, gesturing to the tactical display where several separatist vessels were dropping out of hyperspace. General Grievous commands that Providence-class dreadnought. His forces outnumber ours 3-1. So we're retreating? Ben asked. Anakin and Ahsoka exchanged identical grins that made Humongosaur instantly nervous. Skywalkers don't retreat, Ahsoka said. We adapt, Anakin finished. Admiral, prepare all fighters for launch. Master Kenobi, if you'll take command of the defense, I'd like to introduce our new friend to General Grievous personally. Obi-Wan sighed with the weariness of someone who'd heard too many reckless plans. I suppose trying to talk you out of this would be pointless. Completely, Anakin confirmed cheerfully. Ben, Ahsoka, with me. We're taking the Twilight. Humongosaur followed them through the corridors, causing clone troopers to flatten themselves against walls to make room. The what now? My personal ship, Anakin explained. Modified freighter. Not pretty, but she's got it where it counts. You sound like my grandpa talking about his RV, Humongosaur muttered. They reached a smaller hangar bay where a beat-up freighter sat among the sleek military vessels. It looked like someone had cobbled together spare parts and called it a ship. That's something, Humongosaur said diplomatically. Don't let appearances fool you, Ahsoka advised. She's saved our lives more times than I can count. Inside, the ship was cramped even by normal human standards. For a 12-foot dinosaur alien, it was like trying to fit into a sardine can. Maybe I should switch to something smaller, Humongosaur suggested as his tail knocked over a tool rack. Might be wise, Anakin agreed, sliding into the pilot's seat. Ben slapped the Omnitrix symbol on his chest, transforming back to human form. So what exactly is the plan here? Besides, introduce me to the cyborg killer. Grievous will be expecting a frontal assault or a retreat, Anakin explained, firing up the engines. He won't be looking for a single small freighter slipping behind his lines while the main battle distracts him. We're going to board his flagship? Ben asked incredulously. Not quite, Ahsoka said, strapping into the co-pilot's seat. Intelligence reports Grievous is testing a new weapon on Dantooine. That's why he's here, to collect the results. We believe the weapon may target Jedi specifically, Anakin added grimly. If we can capture or destroy the prototype and the research, we save countless lives. And if we happen to capture Grievous in the process, Ahsoka continued, even better. Ben buckled himself into a jump seat. So we're just the three of us against an army? Typical Tuesday for me. The ship lurched as Anakin guided it out of the hangar. Immediately, the viewport filled with laser fire and explosions as Republic and Separatist forces clashed. Hold on. Anakin called, throwing the freighter into a series of rolls and dives that had Ben's stomach doing somersaults. Are all Jedi this crazy at flying? Ben groaned, gripping his harness. Nope, Ahsoka replied cheerfully. Just him. They weaved through the battle, Anakin's piloting skills turning the ungainly freighter into an improbably agile craft. Laser blasts scorched past them, fighters exploded around them, but somehow they remained untouched. There, Anakin pointed at a small moon orbiting Dantooine. The facilities on that moon. Heavy shielding and anti-aircraft systems. So how do we get in? Ben asked. Anakin's smile was downright predatory. We crash. What? Ben yelped. Not for real, Ahsoka hastily explained. We fake a crash landing. Separatist protocol requires investigation of any Republic craft, especially one potentially carrying intelligence. They bring us in thinking we're disabled. Ben followed the logic. And we bring the party to them, Anakin finished. The ship shuddered as Anakin cut power to one engine, sending them into a controlled spin toward the moon. Smoke grenades attached to the hull deployed, creating a convincing trail of apparent damage. Mayday, Mayday, Anakin broadcast on an open channel. This is Republic Transport CT-7567 requesting emergency landing clearance. Engines failing, controls unresponsive. Ben raised an eyebrow at the obvious lie. Separatists aren't known for their compassion, Ahsoka whispered. But they are known for their curiosity about Republic intelligence. Sure enough, as they entered the moon's atmosphere, a tractor beam locked onto their ship. Republic vessel, you are being guided to landing platform 7 for inspection and detention, came a mechanical voice over the comms. Thank you. Thank you. Anakin replied, sounding genuinely panicked. We've lost containment on our reactor, we could blow any minute. Ben had to admire the performance as Anakin cut the transmission. Oscar-worthy. What's an Oscar? Ahsoka asked. Movie award where I'm from, Ben explained. Remind me to tell you about Earth cinema sometime. Assuming we survive this. We always survive, Anakin said with complete confidence as they were drawn toward a massive facility built into the moon's surface. Usually. That's reassuring, Ben muttered. The tractor beam guided them to a landing platform where battle droids were already assembling. Beyond them, Ben could see the sprawling separatist complex, a nightmarish blend of factory, laboratory, and fortress. Plan? He asked quietly. You turn into something impressive and we fight our way to the central lab, Anakin said simply. Subtle, Ben remarked. Subtlety is overrated, Anakin replied, unclipping his lightsaber. The ship settled onto the landing pad with a metallic groan. Outside, a battalion of battle droids surrounded them, weapons raised. Exit your vessel with hands visible, ordered a droid commander. Ready? Anakin asked, hand on the ramp controls. Ben activated the Omnitrix, scrolling through aliens. Swampfire should work. Plant powers, fire generation, regeneration. Sounds useful, Ahsoka agreed, drawing her lightsabers. Here we go. Anakin slammed the control, dropping the ramp. Ben transformed in a flash of green light as they charged out. Where Ben had stood now emerged a humanoid plant creature with a flame-patterned head and vine-like limbs. Swampfire. The battle droids opened fire immediately. Anakin and Ahsoka deflected blaster bolts with their lightsabers while Swampfire charged directly into the barrage. Blaster bolts tore through his plant body, leaving smoking holes that immediately regenerated. Whoa, Ahsoka breathed, watching as Swampfire simply absorbed damage that would kill most beings. Target the plant creature, the droid commander ordered. Concentrate fire. Bad idea, Swampfire growled, raising his hands. Streams of fire erupted from his palms, engulfing the front row of droids. They melted into puddles of slag almost instantly. While the droids focused on the unexpected threat, Anakin and Ahsoka carved through their flanks, lightsabers blurring with speed. Within minutes, the landing platform was littered with droid parts. That was easy, Swampfire remarked, dusting off his hands. An alarm blared throughout the facility. Blast doors began closing across the entrance. You had to say it, Ahsoka sighed. Swampfire extended his arms, vines shooting out to wrap around the slowly closing doors. His muscles strained as he fought the hydraulics. Little help here, he grunted. Anakin and Ahsoka immediately positioned themselves on either side of the door, using the Force to push against the closing mechanism. The door's progress slowed further but continued inexorably. Not going to hold. Swampfire warned. Plan B. Anakin called. He deactivated his lightsaber and ducked under Swampfire's straining vines, sliding through the narrowing gap. Anakin! Ahsoka shouted. Meet me at the central lab, his voice called back from inside. I'll create a diversion. The doors slammed shut with a resounding boom, cutting Swampfire's extended vines clean off. He withdrew the stumps, which immediately began regenerating. Is he always like this? Swampfire asked. Always, Ahsoka confirmed, deactivating her lightsabers. But he's not wrong. We need another way in. Swampfire tapped the Omnitrix symbol on his chest, transforming again. This time, he became a black and blue velociraptor-like alien with wheels for feet. XLR-8, he announced in a raspy voice. If speed's what we need, I'm your alien. I need to see facility schematics first, Ahsoka said, kneeling beside a fallen security droid. She pulled a small tool from her belt and began rewiring its head. What are you doing? XLR-8 asked. Droids download basic facility maps for navigation, she explained, fingers working deftly. If I can access its memory core. The droid's eyes flickered, and a small holographic map projected from them. Got it. XLR-8 studied the schematic. 3 possible entry points. Ventilation on the east side, drainage system underneath, or. He pointed to a small landing pad higher on the structure, secondary entrance there. The ventilation will be booby-trapped, Ahsoka reasoned. And the drainage might be too, plus it's disgusting. Secondary entrance it is, XLR-8 nodded. Need a lift? Before she could answer, he scooped her up and activated his speed. The world blurred around them as he raced along the facility wall, defying gravity as momentum carried them upward. Woaha! Ahsoka cried, clinging to him. They reached the upper landing pad in seconds, XLR-8 skidding to a halt. Express elevator, going up. Ahsoka stumbled slightly as he set her down. A little warning next time. Where's the fun in that? XLR-8 grinned behind his visor. The secondary entrance was guarded by only 2 super battle droids. Before they could react, XLR-8 zoomed forward, creating a tornado-like vortex that lifted and smashed them against each other. Show off, Ahsoka muttered, but she was smiling. Inside, the facility corridors were eerily quiet. Alarms still blared, but no droids rushed to confront them. They must be responding to Anakin's diversion, Ahsoka whispered. The central lab should be 3 levels down. XLR-8 nodded. Race you there? This isn't a game, Ben, she admonished, then smirked. But I'd win anyway. Oh really? XLR-8 challenged. A distant explosion rocked the facility. That's Anakin, Ahsoka said. We should hurry. They moved quickly through the corridors, XLR-8 scouting ahead at super speed and returning to report. They encountered surprisingly few droids, whatever Anakin was doing had drawn most of the security. Something's not right, Ahsoka said as they descended a stairwell. This is too easy. Maybe we're just that good, XLR-8 suggested. Or maybe, came a raspy, mechanical voice from below, you are expected. XLR-8 skidded to a halt on the landing, Ahsoka nearly colliding with him. Standing at the bottom of the stairwell was a tall, skeletal figure in a flowing cape. 4 arms clutched lightsabers, 2 active, 2 still clipped to his waist. General Grievous, Ahsoka whispered, lightsabers immediately igniting. The Jedi youngling, Grievous remarked, golden eyes narrowing. And something new. Something interesting. XLR-8 positioned himself beside Ahsoka. Guy could use a throat lozenge. Your compatriot has caused quite a distraction, Grievous continued, ignoring the jab. But I suspected he wouldn't come alone. His eyes fixed on the Omnitrix symbol on XLR-8's chest. That device. Show me more of what it can do before I take it from your corpse. You're welcome to try, XLR-8 challenged. Grievous leapt upward with shocking speed, mechanical legs propelling him to their landing. His lightsabers slashed in blinding arcs. Ahsoka blocked 2 strikes while XLR-8 dodged backward, his superior speed keeping him just ahead of Grievous' blades. But the stairwell limited his maneuverability. Need more room. XLR-8 called, tapping the Omnitrix symbol. In a flash of green light, he transformed into a gorilla-like alien with 4 massive arms and golden fur. Spider Monkey. He leapt over Grievous' head, landing on the wall and climbing rapidly upward. Catch me if you can, Tin Man. Grievous snarled, focusing momentarily on Ahsoka. She parried his attacks with impressive skill, but the general's mechanical strength forced her back step by step. Surrender the alien technology, Jedi, and perhaps I'll make your death quick, Grievous taunted. Not gonna happen, Spider Monkey called, firing a stream of sticky webbing from his tail. The webbing caught Grievous' right arm, gumming up the mechanical joints. The cyborg general roared in frustration, trying to tear free. Now, Ahsoka. Spider Monkey called. Ahsoka saw her opening and struck, her lightsaber severing the webbed arm at the elbow. Grievous howled in rage as the limb and lightsaber clattered to the floor. You'll pay for that, he snarled, his chest opening to reveal organic components protected by durasteel plating. Gross, Spider Monkey commented, dropping down to stand beside Ahsoka. Dude needs a shower. And you need to die, Grievous retorted, activating a 3rd lightsaber with his remaining hand. The general attacked with renewed fury, driving them back up the stairs. Despite losing an arm, his speed and strength seemed undiminished. We need to get past him. Ahsoka called, deflecting a barrage of strikes. On it. Spider Monkey fired more webbing, this time at Grievous' feet. The general slashed through most of it, but some adhered to the floor, slowing his advance. Spider Monkey tapped the Omnitrix again, transforming into a small, white alien that resembled a walking battery. Buzzshock. He. What can this one do? Ahsoka asked, continuing to defend against Grievous' relentless assault. In answer, Buzzshock turned into living electricity, zipping past Grievous and into an exposed power conduit in the wall. Coward. Grievous called after him. Face me. Suddenly, every light in the stairwell surged with power. Electrical discharges erupted from the fixtures, control panels, and exposed wiring. Grievous' mechanical body conducted the energy perfectly, causing him to convulse and stagger. Now. Buzzshock's voice came from the speakers. Run. Ahsoka didn't need to be told twice. She vaulted over the stunned general and raced down the stairs. Behind her, Grievous roared in frustration as his systems reset from the power surge. Buzzshock rematerialized beside Ahsoka as they reached the bottom of the stairwell, returning to human form. That was awesome. Ben exclaimed, breathing hard from the exertion of multiple transformations. It was definitely effective, Ahsoka agreed. But he won't stay down long. Then let's move, Ben said, already activating the Omnitrix again. Which way to the lab? Ahsoka pointed down a corridor. That way, but we should expect heavy resistance now that Grievous knows we're here. Ben selected an alien and transformed. Diamond Head. His body became crystalline, light refracting through his silicon-based form. Let's see them try to stop this, he said confidently, forming his arm into a blade. They sprinted down the corridor, encountering squads of battle droids rushing toward the commotion. Diamond Head charged ahead, his crystalline body deflecting blaster fire while Ahsoka covered their rear. There. Ahsoka pointed to a heavily reinforced door at the end of the hallway. That must be the lab. Diamond Head didn't slow down. Stand back. He lowered his shoulder and charged the door at full speed, the momentum of his dense body smashing through the reinforced metal like it was cardboard. Inside, they found not a weapons lab, but something far more disturbing. The room was filled with examination tables, each holding a different species. Some were clearly dead, others unconscious and connected to monitoring equipment. All showed signs of experimentation. By the Force, Ahsoka breathed, her voice catching. What is this? Diamond Head moved to the nearest table where a Rodian lay motionless, strange implants visible beneath partially healed incisions. This isn't weapons research. It's a torture chamber. But why? Ahsoka checked another victim, a young Twi'lek who was still breathing. These are civilians, not soldiers. I believe I can answer that question, came a voice from the shadows. Diamond Head spun around as a hover chair emerged from an adjoining room. In it sat a crab-like alien with a massive cranium split by a jagged crack. One pincer was significantly larger than the other. Dr. Psychoboss, Diamond Head growled. I should have known you'd be behind this. Ben Tennyson, Psychoboss replied, his voice carrying its distinctive stutter. How fascinating to encounter you in this our reality. Ahsoka looked between them. You know this creature? Unfortunately, Diamond Head confirmed. He's a cerebrocrustacean scientist from my universe. Psychotic genius with a superiority complex. Your flattery is noted, Psychoboss sneered. And as for what we're doing here, isn't it obvious? We're studying this universe's connection to something called the F-Force. These specimens all demonstrated varying degrees of sensitivity. They're not specimens, they're people. Ahsoka shouted, lightsabers igniting. Semantics, Psychoboss dismissed. The Separatists have provided me with ample research subjects in exchange for weapons technology. Specifically, technology that can counteract your precious Omnitrix. Diamond Head stepped forward menacingly. How did you even get to this universe? I followed you, of course, Psychoboss explained as if it were obvious. When the Omnitrix M malfunctioned, it created a transdimensional rift. I merely took advantage of the opportunity to explore a new realm for conquest. You're working with Separatists to build anti-Omnitrix tech, Diamond Head surmised. That's why Grievous is so interested in me. Precisely, Psychoboss confirmed. Though I must admit, studying these Force sensitives has been an unexpected bonus. Such potential in their genetic structure. Ahsoka was already moving between the tables, checking victims. Some of these people are still alive. We need to get them out of here. That would be most inconvenient for our research, Psychoboss said. His larger claw opened, revealing a built-in energy weapon. I'm afraid I cannot allow that. Before he could fire, the ceiling exploded inward, showering the room with debris. Through the newly created hole dropped Anakin Skywalker, his face grim and lightsaber blazing. Sorry I'm late, he said, taking in the scene with a quick glance. Got held up making friends with about 3 battalions of battle droids. Perfect timing as usual, Master, Ahsoka replied. Psychoboss backed his hover chair toward an emergency exit. How tedious. Activating security protocol. Red lights began flashing as blast doors started closing throughout the facility. Self-destruct sequence initiated, announced a mechanical voice. Facility will detonate in 5 minutes. Typical, Diamond Head muttered. Can't you villains ever face defeat gracefully? Graceful defeat is for lesser minds, Psychoboss retorted as he disappeared through the exit. We need to get these people out. Ahsoka called, already trying to disconnect a victim from monitoring equipment. And stop that self-destruct, Anakin added, rushing to a computer terminal. Diamond Head transformed again, becoming a small gray alien with large green eyes. Gray matter. He leapt onto the computer console, tiny fingers flying across the controls. Primitive system by my standards, but effective. The self-destruct is hardwired, can't be stopped remotely. Then we evacuate, Anakin decided. How many survivors? Ahsoka did a quick count. 8 still alive, but they're in bad shape. We can't move them fast enough. Gray matter jumped down, transforming again. Clockwork. The new alien resembled a copper robot with a glass chest containing clockwork mechanisms. A key-like protrusion stuck from his head. Stand back, Clockwork instructed, his voice carrying a German-like accent. I'm going to create a time bubble. It will slow down the explosion long enough for us to escape with everyone. You can control time? Anakin asked incredulously. Jedi can move objects with their minds, and that's what surprises you. Clockwork retorted. Green energy began emanating from the key on his head, surrounding the entire room. Within the field, everything moved at a fraction of normal speed, including the countdown clock for the self-destruct. We have about 10 minutes real time before the bubble collapses, Clockwork explained, voice strained with effort. Grab as many as you can. Anakin and Ahsoka didn't waste time questioning. They began disconnecting victims from equipment, using the Force to gently lift the unconscious onto hovergurneys. What about Grievous and Psychoboss? Ahsoka asked as they worked. They're probably already gone, Anakin replied. Getting these people to safety is the priority. They managed to load all 8 survivors onto gurneys. Clockwork maintained the time bubble while they pushed the gurneys through the corridors, heading for the landing pad. This is harder than it looks, Clockwork grunted, the effort of maintaining such a large field clearly taking its toll. Just a little further, Ahsoka encouraged. They reached the landing pad where the twilight waited, seemingly untouched despite the chaos. As they loaded the survivors aboard, Clockwork finally released the time bubble, collapsing to his knees in exhaustion. Ben! Ahsoka rushed to his side as he reverted to human form. I'm okay, Ben assured her, though he looked pale and drained. Just need a minute. A massive explosion rocked the facility behind them. The self-destruct sequence had resumed at normal speed. No time for a minute, Anakin called from the ship's ramp. Move! Ben and Ahsoka scrambled aboard as the landing pad began to collapse. Anakin was already in the pilot's seat, engines warming up. Hold on to something, he warned, punching the thrusters. The twilight lurched forward just as the landing pad gave way completely. They shot away from the facility as sequential explosions tore it apart, the shockwave catching their tail and sending them tumbling. Someday, Ben commented weakly from where he'd been thrown against the bulkhead, I'd like to leave a villain's lair without something exploding. Where's the fun in that? Ahsoka asked, helping him to his feet. In the cockpit, Anakin was already setting course back to the Republic fleet. We've got wounded aboard, he reported over the comm, prepare medbay for 8 civilians, condition critical. What about Grievous and the crab scientist? Ben asked, joining them in the cockpit. Grievous had a ship waiting, Anakin confirmed grimly. I saw it take off just before I found you. And I'm guessing your Dr. Psychoboss was with him. Great, Ben sighed. So they escaped with whatever they learned about the Omnitrix. Not necessarily, Ahsoka said. We destroyed the facility and all their research. Psychoboss keeps the important stuff in his head, Ben countered. Trust me, he's already planning his next move. The Twilight rejoined the Republic fleet, which had driven off the Separatist forces during their mission. As they docked with the Star Destroyer, medical teams rushed to receive the rescued victims. You did well today, Anakin told Ben as they watched the survivors being transferred to proper medical care. Those people would have died without your help. All in a day's work, Ben replied, trying to sound casual despite his exhaustion. I'd like to know more about this Dr. Psychoboss, Obi-Wan said, joining them. A being from your universe working with Separatists is concerning, to say the least. Ben nodded. He's dangerous. Brilliant but completely immoral. If he's building anti-Omnitrix tech for your enemies, we've got bigger problems than just getting me home. We're scheduled to return to Coruscant, Obi-Wan informed them. The Jedi Council will want a full report on these developments. Coruscant, Ben repeated. The capital city planet, right? Ahsoka smiled. You've never seen anything like it. After today, I believe that, Ben replied. Ben stood at the viewport, watching as the Star Destroyer dropped out of hyperspace. The sight before him took his breath away. Coruscant filled the view, an entire planet covered in city, glittering like a jewel against the blackness of space. Endless layers of buildings, speeders flying in organized chaos between them, and the unmistakable spires of the Jedi Temple rising above it all. Wow, was all he could manage. Impressive, isn't it? Ahsoka asked, coming to stand beside him. Makes New York look like a village, Ben replied. How many people live here? Trillions, she said casually. It's been the galaxy's capital for over 25,000 years. Ben shook his head in amazement. And I thought fighting aliens back home was a big deal. The council is waiting, Anakin interrupted, approaching from behind. Time to go. They boarded a shuttle that took them directly to the Jedi Temple landing platform. Ben couldn't help staring at everything as they descended through traffic lanes that made Earth's busiest highways look deserted by comparison. Keep your jaw off the floor, Ahsoka teased. You'll catch flies. Can't help it, Ben admitted. This makes everything in my universe look small. The shuttle settled onto a platform extending from one of the temple spires. A small group waited to receive them, Obi-Wan, who had traveled ahead, and several other Jedi Masters. Remember, Anakin advised quietly as they disembarked, the council can sense deception. Just tell them the truth. Great, Ben muttered. No pressure. He followed Anakin and Ahsoka across the platform, trying not to look as nervous as he felt. The assembled Jedi regarded him with expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion. A diminutive green alien stepped forward, leaning on a gnarled walking stick. Despite his size, Ben immediately sensed the power radiating from him. Young Skywalker, the Green Jedi said, his syntax oddly inverted. This the visitor from another universe is? Yes, Master Yoda, Anakin confirmed with a respectful bow. This is Ben Tennyson. Ben instinctively extended his hand, then wondered if that was appropriate. To his relief, Yoda chuckled and clasped his hand with three-fingered green ones. Strong in ways unfamiliar to us, you are, Yoda observed, his large eyes studying Ben intensely. Yet darkness, I sense not. That's good. Ben ventured. Very good, affirmed a tall black human with a stern expression. I am Mace Windu. We have heard much about your abilities, Ben Tennyson. All good things, I hope, Ben replied. That remains to be seen, Windu said, though Ben thought he detected a hint of amusement beneath the serious facade. They were escorted into the temple, through grand halls that made Ben feel simultaneously insignificant and privileged. The architecture was unlike anything he'd seen, ancient yet somehow timeless, with soaring ceilings and natural light streaming through carefully designed apertures. This place is amazing, Ben whispered to Ahsoka. It's been my home since I was a toddler, she replied. You get used to it. I doubt that. They entered a circular chamber with windows offering a panoramic view of the city planet. 12 seats were arranged in a circle, most already occupied by Jedi Masters either physically present or appearing as blue holograms. Ben stood in the center beside Anakin and Ahsoka, trying not to fidget under the collective gaze of the most powerful Force users in the galaxy. Begin your report, Skywalker, Windu instructed once everyone was seated. Anakin detailed their mission to the Separatist facility, the discovery of the experiments on Force-sensitive civilians, and the appearance of Dr. Psychoboss. Ahsoka added her observations, particularly about the apparent collaboration between Grievous and the cerebrocrustacean scientist. And you believe this Psychoboss followed you from your universe? Asked a female Jedi with tentacle-like head appendages. That's what he said, Ben confirmed. The Omnitrix malfunction created some kind of rift between dimensions. He must have detected it and followed me through. Disturbing, this is, Yoda said. If build weapons against your device, he can, then vulnerable you may be. I've dealt with Psycho Boss before, Ben assured them. He's dangerous, but not unbeatable. Nevertheless, Obi-Wan interjected, his alliance with the Separatists could shift the balance of this war. Particularly if he provides them with technology from your universe. Show us these transformations, you can. Yoda requested, changing the subject. Ben glanced at Anakin, who nodded encouragingly. Sure. He activated the Omnitrix, cycling through aliens. Any preferences? Something that demonstrates the full capability of your device, Windu suggested. Ben selected carefully, then transformed. Echo Echo. The small, white silicon-based alien stood barely 3 feet tall, with a mouth resembling a speaker grill. The council members leaned forward with interest. Multiple capabilities I have, Echo Echo explained in his mechanical, reverberating voice. Then, to their evident surprise, he split into 5 identical copies, each one autonomous. We can multiply, one said. Create sonic attacks, added another. Function independently, a third continued. Or rejoin at will, finished a fourth. The 5 Echo Echoes merged back into one, who then slapped the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. In a flash of green, he transformed again. Brainstorm, announced the new form, a crab-like alien similar to Psychoboss but orange in color, with a massive cranium that could open to reveal an exposed brain. This form possesses extraordinary intelligence and electrokinetic abilities, Brainstorm explained in a British-accented voice. I could calculate every possible outcome of this war in approximately 3.7 minutes, given adequate data parameters. Another transformation. Heat Blast. A being made entirely of magma and fire, contained within rocky plates. Flames danced around his head and shoulders. Pyrokinesis, Heat Blast demonstrated, creating complex shapes with the fire dancing above his palm. Fire generation and control, limited flight, and extreme heat resistance. One final transformation returned him to human form, the demonstration complete. The council sat in silence for several moments. Impressive, Windu finally said. And you claim to have dozens more of these forms? Over 70 at last count, Ben confirmed. Though I can't access them all at once. The Omnitrix has safeguards. Created by who, this device was? Yoda asked. A Galvan named Asmith, Ben explained. Smartest being in my universe. He built it as a tool for understanding, to let species literally walk in each other's shoes. Or tentacles. Or whatever. Yet you use it as a weapon, observed a holographic Jedi Master. I use it to help people, Ben corrected firmly. Sometimes that means fighting, but that's not all it's for. The question remains, Obi-Wan steered the conversation back, what are we to do about Dr. Psychoboss and his collaboration with the Separatists? Find him, Anakin said simply. And stop whatever they're planning. And what of young Tennyson, asked another master. His presence here is clearly no accident. Help us, would you? Yoda asked directly, his wise eyes fixed on Ben. Until find a way home, we can. Ben considered this. He missed his family and friends terribly, but he couldn't ignore the threat Psychoboss posed to this universe, especially with Separatist resources at his disposal. I'll help, he decided. Psychoboss is my responsibility. I can't leave knowing he's out there causing trouble in my name. Then settled, it is, Yoda nodded approvingly. With young Skywalker and Padawan Tano, you will work. Find this scientist and stop him, you must. What about getting me home? Ben asked. Research this, we will, Yoda promised. Our archives, extensive they are. Precedent for dimensional travel, there may be. The meeting concluded shortly after. As they left the council chamber, Ben felt both relieved and overwhelmed. You did well in there, Ahsoka told him. Most people get tongue-tied their first time before the council. Thanks, Ben replied. So what now? Now, Anakin said, we get you settled. You'll need quarters, clothes that don't stand out, and a crash course in Republic protocols. And food, Ben added hopefully. Transforming burns a lot of calories. Ahsoka laughed. The dining hall is this way. Fair warning, Jedi food is nutritious but not exactly exciting. After the day we've had, I'll take quantity over quality, Ben assured her. Over the next few days, Ben acclimated to life in the Jedi Temple. He was given guest quarters, simple clothing similar to what the Jedi wore, minus the robes, and access to certain areas of the facility. Many Jedi were curious about him and his abilities, particularly the younglings who watched in awe whenever he transformed. Ben spent much of his time in the archives, working with Jedi researchers to find any references to dimensional travel. So far, they had uncovered nothing concrete, a few legends, some theoretical writings by ancient Force users, but nothing that offered a practical solution. When not researching, he trained with Ahsoka. She taught him the basics of lightsaber combat using training sabers, while he showed her techniques for fighting against his various alien forms. They quickly developed a rapport, their similar ages and experiences as young heroes creating a natural bond. On the fifth day, Anakin found them in a training room where Ahsoka was attempting to counter Wild Mutt's heightened senses. Having fun? Anakin asked as Wild Mutt pinned Ahsoka for the third time, snarling playfully. Wild Mutt transformed back to Ben, offering Ahsoka a hand up. Just working on tactics. Figured if I'm going to be fighting alongside you guys, we should know each other's moves. Good thinking, Anakin approved. But playtime's over. We've got a lead on Psycho Boss. Both teens immediately straightened. What kind of lead? Ahsoka asked. Separatist communication intercepts mention a new weapon being tested on Felucia, Anakin explained. References to cross-dimensional technology and anti-transformation fields. That's him, Ben confirmed grimly. Psycho Boss loves fancy technical terms for his inventions. We ship out in an hour, Anakin informed them. Full clone battalion. Whatever they're building, Republic intelligence believes it's nearly operational. Time to hero up, Ben said, tapping the Omnitrix out of habit. Save it for Felucia, Anakin advised. You'll need it. The Republic assault carrier dropped out of hyperspace near Felucia, a vivid jungle world known for its massive fungal forests and hostile wildlife. Ben stood on the bridge beside Anakin and Ahsoka as they reviewed the tactical display. Sensors are detecting a significant separatist presence in this region, reported Admiral Yularen, highlighting an area of dense jungle. Heavy energy readings consistent with a research facility or weapons platform. That's our target, Anakin confirmed. We'll take gunships down with the 501st, hit them hard and fast before they know what's happening. Sir, interrupted a clone officer, we're detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the planet's surface. It's interfering with our scans. Psycho Boss, Ben surmised. Has to be. Alter the plan. This does not, came a familiar voice. Everyone turned to see Master Yoda entering the bridge. Join you, I will. Sense great danger in this mission, I do. Master Yoda, Anakin bowed respectfully. We're honored, but isn't this a bit beneath your usual assignments? Yoda's ears twitched with amusement. Concerned about dimensional technology in separatist hands, the Council is. Personal attention, this requires. Ben couldn't help feeling both reassured and intimidated by the ancient Jedi Master's presence. If Yoda was joining them, the situation was even more serious than he'd thought. The assault carrier moved into position, deploying squadrons of fighters to secure their approach. Ben joined the Jedi and clone troopers in the hangar bay, where gunships waited with open doors. First time dropping into a hot zone, asked a clone with blue-marked armor, Captain Rex. Not exactly, Ben replied. Though usually I'm flying under my own power. Stick close to Commander Tano, Rex advised. Felucia's no place for sightseeing. They boarded the gunships, the doors closing around them as the vessels lifted off. Ben felt the familiar pre-battle tension, that mixture of excitement and apprehension that never seemed to change regardless of which universe he was in. Nervous? Ahsoka asked beside him, noticing his expression. Nah, Ben lied, then grinned. Okay, maybe a little. But the good kind of nervous. I know exactly what you mean, she replied, and for a moment, their eyes locked in perfect understanding. The moment was broken by the gunship lurching violently as it entered Felucia's atmosphere. Warning lights flashed in the cabin. We're taking fire, the pilot reported. Heavy anti-aircraft emplacements. They were expecting us, Anakin realized. The gunship banked hard, throwing everyone against the restraint harnesses. Through the side viewport, Ben could see other Republic vessels taking hits, some trailing smoke. We're losing ships fast, General. Rex reported. Set us down wherever you can, Anakin ordered the pilot. We'll proceed on foot if necessary. The gunship descended rapidly, weaving between massive fungal growths that towered hundreds of feet into the sky. Laser fire continued to track them, uncomfortably accurate despite the dense cover. Brace for impact, the pilot warned as a shot clipped their wing. The gunship plummeted the final 30 feet, crashing through fungal canopies before slamming into the ground. Ben was thrown against his harness, the wind knocked out of him. Everyone okay? Anakin called, already cutting himself free with his lightsaber. Define okay, Ben groaned, releasing his harness. He helped Ahsoka with hers, noticing she'd taken a hit to the head, a thin trickle of blood ran down her temple. I'm fine, she insisted, though she looked slightly dazed. Master Yoda had already freed himself, somehow untouched by the crash. He stood calmly amidst the chaos, eyes closed in concentration. Surrounded, we are, he announced. Droids approaching from all sides. Fan out. Rex ordered his troopers as they extracted themselves from the wreckage. Defensive perimeter. Ben activated the Omnitrix. Time to even the odds. He selected an alien and transformed in a flash of green light. Swamp fire. The plant-like alien immediately proved useful as he tore apart the damaged gunship, creating exit points for the trapped clones. Once everyone was clear, they formed a defensive circle in the small clearing created by their crash. The sounds of mechanical footsteps echoed through the dense fungal forest, growing louder by the second. This was a trap, Anakin stated grimly, lightsaber ignited and ready. Sprung it, we have, Yoda agreed, his own lightsaber appearing in his three-fingered hand. Despite his diminutive size and apparent age, the Jedi Master suddenly radiated lethal readiness. The first wave of battle droids emerged from the underbrush, dozens, then hundreds of them, surrounding the crash site. Open fire. Rex commanded, and the clones unleashed a barrage of blaster fire. Droids fell by the dozen, but more kept coming. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Yoda deflected enemy fire with their lightsabers while Swampfire launched fireballs into the densest concentrations of droids. There's too many, a clone shouted as a blaster bolt found its mark, dropping him. Swampfire placed his hands on the ground, channeling his powers into the fungal soil. Massive vines erupted around their position, forming a temporary barricade that bought them precious seconds of reprieve. We need to move, Anakin decided. The facility can't be far if they responded this quickly. Agreed, Yoda nodded. A distraction, we need. Swampfire transformed, becoming a massive, crystalline alien. Diamond Head. I can give you that distraction. He placed his hands on the ground, channeling his powers into the earth. Massive crystal spikes erupted in all directions, impaling dozens of droids and creating chaos in their formations. Now. Anakin ordered. Move out, southeast bearing. The clones broke cover, firing as they ran. Anakin and Ahsoka led the way, cutting down droids that got too close, while Yoda moved with surprising speed despite his size and walking stick. Diamond Head covered their retreat, creating crystal barriers and firing crystal shards with deadly accuracy. When a group of super battle droids threatened to flank them, he transformed again. Heat Blast. A massive wall of fire erupted between the droids and the retreating Republic forces, buying them crucial distance. They pushed through the dense jungle, the sounds of pursuit gradually fading behind them. After nearly an hour of forced march, they paused in a small clearing to regroup. Head count? Anakin asked Rex. 17 men accounted for, sir, Rex reported grimly. We lost 8 in the crash and fighting. Our other gunships? Ahsoka inquired. Rex checked his comm, 3 made it down safely. The rest? He shook his head. Heat Blast reverted to human form as the Omnitrix timed out. Ben leaned against a fungal trunk, catching his breath. Sorry about your men, he told Rex sincerely. Part of the job, Rex replied, though his voice carried the weight of command responsibility. Yoda closed his eyes, concentrating. Close, the facility is. But guarded heavily, it will be. Subtle approach this time. Ben suggested. I've got aliens that can get us in undetected. Worth considering, Anakin agreed. Master Yoda? The ancient Jedi Master opened his eyes. Divided, we should be. Young Tennyson and Ahsoka, infiltrate the facility they will. Create a diversion, the clones and we shall. You sure about splitting up? Ben asked. Necessary, it is, Yoda confirmed. Since I do that wanted, you are. Bait for a trap. Me specifically? Ben clarified. Or just Republic forces? You, Ahsoka answered before Yoda could. It makes sense. Psycho Boss wants the Omnitrix. This whole setup could be designed to capture you. Which is exactly why we're going to turn their plan against them, Anakin added with a determined smile. They want Ben. We'll make them think they've got him. I don't like where this is going, Ben muttered. One of my men is about your size, Rex said, studying Ben. You give him the Omnitrix. Whoa, stop right there, Ben interrupted. The Omnitrix is DNA locked to me. It can't be removed without special equipment. Then perhaps a decoy, Yoda suggested. Appear to be captured, your friend will. While Ben and I sneak in the back, Ahsoka finished, catching on. Anakin nodded approvingly. Rex, prep 5s for the operation. He's closest to Ben's build. Yes sir, Rex acknowledged, moving to brief the designated clone trooper. I still don't love this plan, Ben admitted. What if they realize he's not me? That's why we move fast, Ahsoka said. While they're focused on the captured Ben, we infiltrate and shut down whatever weapon they're building. And find Psycho Boss, Ben added grimly. He's the real threat here. They spent the next hour preparing. 5s, the chosen clone trooper, was fitted with a convincing replica of Ben's jacket and a non-functional Omnitrix facsimile on his wrist. From a distance, in the chaos of battle, he could pass for Ben. Remember, Anakin instructed 5s, you just need to sell it long enough for them to bring you inside. Once Ben and Ahsoka are in position, we launch the full attack. Understood, sir, 5s replied. I've got some experience with undercover work. Meanwhile, Ben and Ahsoka studied a rough map of the area compiled from Republic intelligence and their current scouts. The facility should be built into this rock formation, Ahsoka pointed out. These energy readings suggest the main power core is here, with research labs surrounding it. And if I know Psycho Boss, he'll be right in the middle, Ben added. Probably with the most dangerous tech within tentacle reach. How do we get in undetected, she asked. Ben cycled through the Omnitrix. Big Chill could phase us through walls, but after our last encounter with Ventress, I'm guessing they might have sensors for that now. Maybe. He stopped on a particular alien silhouette and smiled. Perfect. Chameleon. What does that one do? Ahsoka asked. Invisibility, wall climbing, and a pretty nasty stinger, Ben explained. Plus enhanced senses. Sounds ideal, she agreed. But can you carry me while invisible? We're about to find out, Ben replied with more confidence than he felt. As dusk approached, they put the plan into motion. Anakin, Yoda, and the clone forces began a frontal assault on the facility, making no attempt at subtlety. As expected, Separatist forces responded in force, battle droids, destroyer droids, and even a few tanks emerged to counter the attack. In the chaos, Fives allowed himself to be cornered and captured, putting up just enough resistance to seem genuine before Separatist forces dragged him inside the facility. That's our cue, Ahsoka whispered from their vantage point on a ridge overlooking the battle. Ben nodded, activating the Omnitrix. Chameleon. The transformation left him as a purple-scaled reptilian alien with 3 triangular eyes and a long tail ending in a barbed stinger. His most notable feature, however, was his ability to blend perfectly with his surroundings, becoming virtually invisible. Grab on, Chameleon instructed, his voice a raspy whisper. Ahsoka wrapped her arms around his shoulders, and he extended his invisibility field to cover her as well. It wasn't perfect, close observation might reveal slight distortions, but in the growing darkness and battle chaos, they were effectively invisible. Chameleon moved with surprising speed and agility despite carrying Ahsoka. His clawed feet adhered easily to vertical surfaces as they scaled the cliff face behind the facility, avoiding the main battle entirely. Ventilation shaft, Ahsoka whispered, pointing to a small opening in the rock. Chameleon nodded, climbing toward it. The shaft was narrow but navigable, especially for his slender form. With Ahsoka still clinging to his back, he slipped inside and began crawling through the ductwork. I can sense a lot of droids, Ahsoka whispered. And something else, something cold. Ventress again? Chameleon asked, recalling their previous encounter. No, different. More, mechanical. They emerged from the ventilation system into a deserted corridor. Chameleon set Ahsoka down but maintained their invisibility. This way, she directed, her Jedi senses guiding them. I can feel something wrong up ahead. They moved silently through the facility, avoiding patrols of battle droids rushing to reinforce the defenses against the diversionary attack. The deeper they went, the more sophisticated the technology became, clearly not standard Separatist designs. Psychobosa's touch, Chameleon observed, noting equipment reminiscent of what he'd seen in his own universe. They reached a heavily secured door that required both mechanical and biological authorization. Problem, Ahsoka whispered. Chameleon studied the security system, then released their invisibility. Need to change tactics. He transformed in a flash of green light. Upgrade. The technomorphic alien oozed forward, merging with the security panel. Green circuit patterns spread across it as Upgrade took control of its systems. Too easy, his voice emerged from the panel as the door slid open. Inside was a massive laboratory that would have made even Azimuth impressed. Complex equipment filled the space, much of it clearly hybridized between Separatist technology and Psychobosa's own designs. In the center stood a platform containing what appeared to be a massive cannon. What is that? Ahsoka wondered. Upgrade separated from the panel, reforming beside her. Nothing good, that's for sure. Indeed, came a mechanical, wheezing voice from behind them. Though, good is such a subjective term. They spun to find General Grievous standing in a doorway they hadn't noticed, for lightsabers already drawn. Behind him stood Dr. Psychobos in his hover chair, a triumphant expression on his crustacean features. The real Ben Tennyson, Psychobos observed with satisfaction. How disappointing that you saw through our rather obvious T-trap. Wasn't hard, Upgrade replied. You were never subtle, Psychobos. Perhaps not, the scientist admitted. But effectiveness trumps subtlety. He pressed a button on his chair, and a field of energy erupted around Upgrade and Ahsoka. Immediately, Upgrade felt his connection to technology weakening. "What is this?" he demanded, trying to maintain his form. "A specialized null field," Psychoboss explained proudly. "Specifically calibrated to de-disrupt the Omnitrix's transformation matrix. Quite brilliant, even by my standards." Upgrade struggled against the effect, but felt himself losing cohesion. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest flickered erratically. "Ben." Ahsoka ignited her lightsabers, only to find they wouldn't activate within the field. "What did you do to our weapons?" "The field affects all energy-based T-technology," Psychoboss explained. "Lightsabers, blasters, and most importantly, the Omnitrix." Upgrade collapsed into a puddle of nanites before reforming as Ben, the transformation reversed against his will. The Omnitrix on his wrist flashed red and unresponsive. "Psychoboss, you treacherous crab!" Ben shouted, frustrated at being so easily neutralized. "Your decoy was convincing," Grievous added, stepping into the field which apparently didn't affect his cybernetic body. "But lacked your unique energy signature. Still, he served his purpose in confirming our trap worked." "What did you do with him?" Ahsoka demanded. "The clone." Still being interrogated, Psychoboss waved a claw dismissively. "Though his usefulness has expired now that we have the genuine article." "Fives is tough," Ben told Ahsoka quietly. "He'll hold out." "How touching," Grievous mocked, advancing on them with lightsabers ready. "But completely irrelevant. Your friends outside are being decimated as we speak." "I wouldn't count on that," Ben replied confidently. "You forget who's leading them." As if on cue, a massive explosion rocked the facility, causing even Grievous to momentarily lose his balance. "What was that?" the general demanded. "The D-diversionary attack has breached the outer D defenses," Psychoboss reported, checking a monitor. "No matter. We have what we need." He turned to Ben with malevolent anticipation. "The Omnitrix." Ben instinctively covered the watch with his hand. "You'll never figure out how to use it. It's coded to my DNA." "DNA can be replicated," Psychoboss countered. "Or the device can be reverse engineered. Either way, its secrets will be mine." "You won't succeed," Ahsoka declared, moving into a defensive stance despite her deactivated lightsabers. "You're not the first to try taking the Omnitrix, and you won't be the last." "Perhaps," Psychoboss conceded. "But I am certainly the most qualified. And with separatist resources at my disposal, nothing is impossible." Another explosion, closer this time, shook the room. "Deal with the intruders," Psychoboss instructed Grievous. "I will begin the extraction procedure." Grievous nodded and stalked from the room, leaving Psychoboss alone with the captured heroes. "Extraction procedure?" Ben asked, not liking the sound of that. "Nothing too invasive," Psychoboss assured him with what passed for a smile among cerebrocrustaceans. "Though you may lose the arm in the process." Ben and Ahsoka exchanged alarmed glances. The null field prevented Ben from transforming and Ahsoka from using her lightsabers or the Force effectively. They needed a plan, and fast. "You're making a mistake," Ben tried. "The Omnitrix has safeguards. Try to remove it forcefully, and it self-destructs." Psychoboss hesitated, clearly considering this possibility. "A bluff, I think. Azimuth would never risk destroying his precious sea creation." "Want to bet your life on that?" Ben challenged. "Remember what happened when Albedo tried to build his own version?" This gave Psychoboss visible pause. "How did you know about that incident?" "I know a lot about the Omnitrix," Ben pressed his advantage. "Things even you don't know." "Things Azimuth only told me." While Ben kept Psychoboss distracted, Ahsoka was subtly testing the null field's boundaries. She noticed it didn't extend all the way to the ceiling, the emitters were focused on their current position. "Even if what you say is true," Psychoboss finally replied, "I have countermeasures." He pressed another button on his chair, and mechanical arms descended from the ceiling, equipped with surgical tools and scanning devices. "Now, extend your arm and this will be relatively painless," Psychoboss instructed. "I don't think so," Ben replied defiantly, backing away until he hit the field's edge. Psychoboss sighed with exaggerated patience. "Heroic resistance is so tedious." The mechanical arms lunged for Ben, who ducked and rolled. Despite the null field, he'd spent years training in human form as well, and his reflexes saved him from immediate capture. Ahsoka moved simultaneously, leaping as high as the field would allow, not her usual force-enhanced jump, but enough to grab a hanging cable from the ceiling. She swung toward the null field emitter mounted on the wall. "Stop her!" Psychoboss screeched, directing his hover chair toward Ahsoka. Ben took advantage of the distraction to grab one of the mechanical arms, using its momentum to swing it toward Psychoboss. The scientist barely avoided being struck, but the movement put him off balance. Ahsoka reached the emitter and, lacking her lightsaber, simply ripped out the power cables with her bare hands. The null field fluctuated and weakened. "No!" Psychoboss cried, firing an electrical blast from his cranial plate that caught Ahsoka mid-air, sending her crashing to the floor. "Ahsoka!" Ben shouted, rushing to her side. She was conscious but dazed, electricity still crackling around her montrals. The null field continued to weaken as more emitters failed in sequence. Apparently, they were linked. Ben felt the Omnitrix reactivating, the familiar energy returning to his arm. "It's hero time," he growled, slapping down the dial. In a flash of green light, Ben transformed into a massive, hulking alien covered in red plates, with 4 massive arms and immense strength. "Forearms!" Psychoboss immediately backed away, his hover chair moving toward an emergency exit. "Guards! Intruders in the main lab!" Forearms leapt across the room, grabbing Psychoboss's chair before he could escape. "Going somewhere, crab cakes." "This is merely a temporary setback," Psychoboss insisted, firing electrical blasts that Forearms simply absorbed with a grunt of pain. "For you, maybe," Forearms replied, using one massive hand to crush the weapon systems on Psychoboss's chair. "For me, it's just another Tuesday." The door burst open as battle droids responded to Psychoboss's call, their weapons trained on Forearms. At the same time, Ahsoka had recovered enough to retrieve her lightsabers, which now activated properly with the null field down. "Ben, the weapon," she called, deflecting blaster fire as she carved through the first wave of droids. Forearms looked at the massive cannon-like device in the center of the lab. "On it!" Still holding Psychoboss in one hand, he used his other 3 arms to tear apart the weapon support structure. The device began to tilt dangerously. "Stop! You don't understand what you're doing," Psychoboss protested. "That's an interdimensional phase cannon. Damage it improperly and it could tear a hole in space-time." Forearms hesitated. "Like the rift that brought me here." "Precisely," Psychoboss confirmed. "But uncontrolled. Catastrophic." "Then tell me how to shut it down properly," Forearms demanded, bringing Psychoboss's face close to his own. Psychoboss seemed to calculate his options before replying. "The control panel. Enter shutdown sequence Omega-9 Delta." Forearms carried Psychoboss to the panel, keeping a firm grip on him. "If you're lying." "Self-preservation is my primary motivation at this point," Psychoboss assured him. Ahsoka continued to hold off the droids while Forearms forced Psychoboss to initiate the shutdown sequence. The cannon powered down with a descending whine. Was that so difficult?" Psychoboss asked sarcastically. "Not at all," Forearms replied, then raised Psychoboss to eye level. "Now, about getting home. You think I would help you return?" Psychoboss laughed. "When your presence here is such a fascinating experiment." "I think," Forearms growled, "that you're going to tell me everything you know about dimensional travel, or you'll find out exactly how unpleasant I can be. Before Psycho Boss could respond, the entire facility shook with the largest explosion yet. Part of the ceiling collapsed, revealing the night sky, and a Republic gunship hovering above, spotlights piercing the darkness. "Cavalry's here," Ahsoka announced with relief, having dispatched the last of the battle droids. The gunship lowered through the opening, and Anakin leapt out, followed by several clone troopers. Master Yoda remained in the ship, surveying the scene with calm interest. "Started the party without us?" Anakin quipped, taking in the destroyed lab and 4 Arms holding Psycho Boss. "We saved you some cleanup," 4 Arms replied, transforming back to Ben as the immediate danger passed. He maintained his grip on Psycho Boss's chair, preventing the scientist from escaping. "Fives?" Ahsoka asked worriedly. "Recovered and safe," Anakin assured her. "A bit worse for wear, but he'll be fine." "And Grievous?" Ben asked. Anakin's expression darkened. "Escaped. Again. But we've secured the facility and captured most of the research data." "Pointless," Psycho Boss declared. "I keep the important information in my superior B-brain." "Then I guess we're taking that with us too," Anakin said, gesturing for the clones to secure the scientist. "The weapon?" Yoda asked from the gunship. "Deactivated," Ben confirmed. "Though Psycho Boss claims it was designed for interdimensional travel. Maybe our way home?" "Study it thoroughly, we will," Yoda nodded. "But destroy it we must, if dangerous it proves." As the clones secured Psycho Boss and began gathering data from the remaining systems, Ben found a moment alone with Ahsoka near the deactivated cannon. "You okay?" he asked, noticing she still seemed shaken from Psycho Boss's electrical attack. "I'll live," she assured him with a weak smile. "You've been hit by worse, I'm guessing." "Occupational hazard," Ben agreed. He hesitated before adding, "Thanks for having my back in there." "Partners, right?" Ahsoka replied, bumping her shoulder against his. "Yeah," Ben nodded, looking around at the destroyed lab. "Partners." As they boarded the gunship for extraction, Ben couldn't help wondering if Psycho Boss's dimensional cannon really could send him home, and more troublingly, if he was ready to go if it could. Back on Coruscant, the aftermath of the Felucia mission unfolded on multiple fronts. Dar. Psycho Boss was detained in a special holding facility designed for high-value separatist prisoners, under constant guard and with technology specifically designed to counteract his electrokinetic abilities. The captured research data proved valuable, confirming that separatists had indeed been developing weapons specifically designed to target Jedi abilities. But more importantly for Ben, it contained significant information about dimensional travel. 3 days after their return, Ben was summoned to a secure laboratory deep within the Jedi Temple. There, he found Master Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka gathered around a holographic display of what appeared to be the dimensional cannon, now disassembled and being studied by Jedi engineers. "Ben Tennyson," Yoda greeted him. "Progress, we have made. You figured out how to send me home?" Ben asked hopefully. "Not exactly," Obi-Wan replied, stroking his beard thoughtfully. "But we've confirmed Dar. Psycho Boss's device was indeed designed to create controlled dimensional rifts. The theory is sound," Anakin added. "But the execution is problematic." "What does that mean?" Ben pressed. "It means," Ahsoka explained gently, "that the device could potentially create a rift to your dimension, but there's no way to guarantee where exactly you'd end up, or even when. Plus, there's the small matter of potentially catastrophic side effects," Anakin added. "Based on our analysis and Psycho Boss's reluctant testimony, opening a stable dimensional portal requires energy equivalent to a small star. Which we don't have," Ben surmised. "Correct," Obi-Wan confirmed. "At least, not safely." Ben absorbed this, trying to hide his disappointment. "So I'm stuck here." "For now," Ahsoka said quickly. "But we're not giving up. Alternative methods, we are exploring," Yoda assured him. Ancient Jedi texts speak of meditation techniques that could transcend dimensions. With respect, Master Yoda, Ben replied, I'm not exactly meditation material. A ghost of a smile crossed Yoda's face. Teach you, we can. But time, it will take. In the meantime, Obi-Wan interjected, your assistance has been invaluable. The Council has discussed your situation at length and would like to formally request your continued cooperation. You want me to keep fighting? Ben clarified. We want you to do what you do best, Anakin corrected. Be a hero. Ben looked around at these people who had become allies and, in Ahsoka's case, perhaps even a friend. He thought of home, his parents, Gwen, Kevin, Grandpa Max, and felt the familiar pang of homesickness. But he also recognized that here, now, he could make a difference in a war that affected trillions. I'm in, he decided. At least until we figure out my ticket home. Excellent, Obi-Wan smiled. Because we've just received intelligence about separatist movements near the Kaleida Nebula. General Grievous appears to be regrouping, and he's not alone. Ventress? Ahsoka guessed. Among others, Anakin confirmed grimly. They're gathering forces for something big. And they still want the Omnitrix, Ben added, looking down at the device on his wrist. Psychoboss might be captured, but his research isn't the only threat. Prepare, we must, Yoda declared. A new phase of the war, this may be. As the meeting concluded and they began planning their next mission, Ben found himself walking alongside Ahsoka through the temple corridors. Do you think I'll ever get home? He asked quietly when they were alone. Ahsoka considered this seriously before answering. I think if anyone can find a way, it's you. You're the most adaptable person I've ever met, and that's saying something, considering who my master is. Ben smiled at that. Thanks. In the meantime, I guess there are worse places to be stranded. At least this universe has decent smoothies. Is that all you think about? Food? Ahsoka teased. Hey, fighting evil builds an appetite, Ben defended. Besides, I'm still a growing teenager. Speaking of which, Ahsoka's expression turned mischievous. Rex thinks your hand-to-hand could use some work. Something about relying too much on alien powers. Oh really? Ben raised an eyebrow. And I suppose you're volunteering to help? Training room, 1 hour, she confirmed with a challenging smile. Unless you're scared. Me? Scared of a girl half my size? Ben scoffed playfully. Half your size with 2 lightsabers and force powers, Ahsoka reminded him. Point taken, Ben conceded. 1 hour it is. As Ahsoka walked away, Ben found himself smiling despite the uncertainty of his situation. Home was still his ultimate goal, but until then, he had a war to help win and a galaxy to protect. Just another day in the life of Ben Tennyson, hero of 2 universes. Chapter 3, 2 Worlds, 1 Hero, Incoming. Ben dived behind a fallen chunk of Duracrete as blaster fire rained down around him. 3 weeks fighting alongside Republic forces had honed his battlefield instincts to a razor edge. Hey, watch the hair, he called to Rex, who had barely avoided getting his helmet scorched by a deflected bolt. Little busy here, the clone captain shouted back, popping up to return fire at the advancing droid column. Ben checked the Omnitrix, fully charged and ready. The battle for Ryloth had been raging for hours, and the separatist forces just kept coming. Twi'lek civilians were trapped in the city behind them, and retreat wasn't an option. Time to bust out the heavy hitter, Ben decided, activating the Omnitrix. In a flash of green light, his body expanded upward and outward, his skin becoming red and molten beneath rocky plates. Heat blast. He leapt over the barricade, hands erupting with fire that he shaped into a massive rolling wall, sending it crashing toward the droid ranks. Battle droids melted instantly, while the sturdier super battle droids staggered backward, their systems overloading from the intense heat. Push forward. Anakin's voice called from somewhere to Ben's right. The clone troopers broke cover, advancing behind Heat Blast's fiery protection. Ben caught sight of Ahsoka carving through droids with her dual lightsabers, moving with the fluid grace that still amazed him after weeks of fighting alongside her. "Little help with the heavy artillery," she called, pointing to a pair of separatist tanks rolling toward their position. "I got you, Stripes." Heat Blast called back, using the nickname he'd given her during their third mission together. He concentrated, superheating the air beneath his feet to propel himself upward. From this aerial vantage, he launched 2 concentrated fireballs at the tank's vulnerable fuel cells. The resulting explosion cleared a 50-foot radius and sent droid parts flying in all directions. "Show off." Ahsoka's voice carried over the din of battle, though he could hear the smile in it. Heat Blast landed beside her, back to back as they faced the remaining droids. "You're just jealous you can't make things explode with your mind." "I don't need to," she retorted, using the force to hurl a cluster of battle droids into a wall with enough force to shatter them. "I have other talents." "Point taken," Heat Blast conceded. The battle turned decisively in the Republic's favor as Anakin led the main force through the gap Ben had created. Within minutes, the remaining droids were either scrap or in retreat. "Another glorious victory for the 501st, Rex announced, removing his helmet to wipe sweat from his brow. "Though I think Tennyson here is trying to put us all out of a job." "No way," Heat Blast replied, transforming back to human form as the immediate danger passed. "You guys did all the hard work. I just provided the fireworks." "Your modesty needs work," Ahsoka teased, deactivating her lightsabers. "But your timing was perfect." "The city is secure," Anakin reported, joining them. "Master Kenobi's forces have locked down the northern sector. The Twi'leks can return to their homes." Ben nodded, feeling that familiar mix of satisfaction and exhaustion that followed a successful mission. In the 3 weeks since the confrontation with Psycho Boss on Felucia, he'd participated in 4 major operations alongside Anakin and Ahsoka. Each victory made him feel more integrated with the Republic forces, though the constant reminders of being in another universe never quite faded. "Nice work with those tanks," Anakin told him, breaking into his thoughts. "Creative application of your abilities." "Thanks. I've had practice thinking on my feet." "The Council wants us back on Coruscant," Anakin continued. "Something about new intelligence regarding separatist movements." "More missions. Didn't we just finish this one?" Ben groaned. "Welcome to war," Rex said with grim humor. "No vacations until the clankers are scrap." "We leave in 2 hours, Anakin informed them. "Get some rest while you can." As Anakin and Rex moved off to coordinate with the other officers, Ben found himself alone with Ahsoka. In the weeks they'd fought together, their initial wariness had evolved into a comfortable partnership and genuine friendship. "You okay?" she asked, noticing his pensive expression. "You took a pretty hard hit back there." "Just thinking about home," Ben admitted. "Today would have been my cousin Gwen's birthday. We usually do this whole family thing with cake and presents, even though we pretend to hate the tradition." Ahsoka's expression softened. "You miss them?" "Yeah. More than I expected to." Ben kicked at a piece of debris. "Don't get me wrong, saving the galaxy with you guys is awesome. But sometimes it's not the same as your galaxy," Ahsoka finished for him. "Exactly." She placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture that had become familiar between them. "The archives team is still researching dimensional travel. Master New told me they found some promising texts from the Old Republic era." "That's what they said last week," Ben replied without much hope. "And the week before." "Hey," Ahsoka squeezed his shoulder. "We'll figure it out. Jedi don't give up, and neither do Tennysons, right?" Ben smiled despite himself. "Right. Thanks, Stripes. Anytime, watch boy. Now come on, I heard the mess set up actual hot showers in the command center. First dibs." She took off running, and Ben chased after her, their laughter echoing through the battle-scarred streets of Ryloth. The Republic cruiser Resolute sliced through hyperspace, carrying them back to Coruscant. Ben stood at the viewport in his quarters, watching the blue swirl of faster-than-light travel. After 3 weeks of constant action, the forced downtime left him restless. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "It's open," he called. Ahsoka entered, carrying a data pad. "Thought you might want to see this. The latest report from the archives." Ben took the pad, scanning the technical data quickly. More Jedi mumbo-jumbo about transcending physical barriers through Force meditation. "Skip to the end," Ahsoka suggested. Ben scrolled down, then stopped, his eyes widening. "Wait, they found what?" "Records of an ancient Jedi artifact called the Infinity Gate," Ahsoka confirmed, unable to hide her excitement. "It was supposedly created to access other dimensions or even distant parts of the galaxy instantaneously. Like a teleporter?" Ben asked, reading further. "Or a dimensional doorway?" "Both, maybe. The texts are fragmented, but Master Nu thinks it might be the key to sending you home." Hope flickered in Ben's chest for the first time in weeks. "Where is this gate?" Ahsoka's enthusiasm dimmed slightly. "That's the problem. Most records indicate it was destroyed thousands of years ago to prevent misuse." But, her excitement returned, there are references to a map leading to a second gate hidden somewhere in the outer rim. "A treasure hunt," Ben summarized. "Like something out of a movie. Master Kenobi is already investigating leads on Corellia. A historian there supposedly has fragments of the original map." Ben handed the datapad back, trying to temper his excitement with caution. He'd faced too many disappointments in the past weeks to get his hopes up completely. "Thanks for telling me," he said sincerely. "This is the first real lead we've had." "I know how important getting home is to you," Ahsoka replied. Then, with forced casualness, she added, "though we'd miss you around here. The 501st has kind of gotten used to having an Omnitrix on their side." "Miss me?" "You'd probably throw a party once you didn't have to explain Earth references anymore," Ben joked, though he felt a twinge at the thought of leaving these people who had become his friends. "You'd be surprised," Ahsoka said softly. An awkward silence fell between them, broken by the ship's intercom. "Commanders to the bridge." "Repeat, commanders to the bridge." "That's us," Ahsoka said, clearly relieved by the interruption. "Race you there?" "You're on." On the bridge, they found Anakin and Admiral Yularen studying a holographic star chart. Several sectors were highlighted in red, forming an ominous pattern. "Separatist fleet movements," Anakin explained as they approached. "Over the past 2 weeks, they've been systematically hitting specific targets." "I don't see the pattern," Ben admitted, studying the scattered red indicators. "Look again," Yularen suggested. "Each target has been a facility where you specifically were known to have visited or fought." Ben looked closer, recognition dawning. "Felucia, Ryloth, Christophsis, they're tracking my movements." "Precisely," Anakin confirmed grimly. "Intelligence suggests General Grievous is personally leading this campaign." "He's hunting you, Ben." "Me? Or the Omnitrix?" Ben asked, though he already knew the answer. "Both, most likely," Ahsoka said. "After what happened with Psychoboss, they know how valuable your technology could be." "There's more," Anakin continued, pressing a button to bring up a new hologram, this one showing a familiar cranial-enhanced crustacean. "Dr. Psychoboss escaped Republic custody during transit to a more secure facility." "You've got to be kidding me," Ben groaned. "That's just perfect." "The escape bears hallmarks of inside assistance," Yularen added. "Someone high in Republic authority may have facilitated it." The implications hung heavily in the air. A traitor in the Republic ranks was concerning enough, but one with access to high-security prisoners suggested infiltration at the highest levels. "So now I've got a four-armed cyborg general and a psychotic crab scientist both gunning for me," Ben summarized. "Tuesday must be coming around again." Anakin's mouth twitched in what might have been appreciation for Ben's gallows humor. The Council believes Grievous will continue this pattern, targeting locations associated with you. Then we set a trap, Ben said immediately. Let him think I'm somewhere predictable, then hit him when he shows up. That's exactly what Master Kenobi suggested, Anakin agreed. We're setting up a false operation on Bothui. Intelligence that you're participating will be leaked through channels we know are compromised. Meanwhile, you'll actually be on Corellia with me, Ahsoka added, following up on the Infinity Gate lead. 2 birds, 1 stone, Ben nodded approvingly. I like it. We rendezvous with Master Kenobi at Corellia in 10 hours, Anakin informed them. Until then, get some rest. I have a feeling things are about to get complicated. Corellia was unlike any planet Ben had visited since arriving in this universe. Where other worlds had seemed alien and exotic, Corellia reminded him somewhat of Earth, industrialized, with massive shipyards and a distinctly urban flavor. It's like Space Detroit, he commented as their shuttle descended toward Coronet City. I have no idea what that means, Ahsoka replied, but Corellia is famous for its engineering and starship production. They built the Millennium Falcon. The what now? Never mind, she smiled mysteriously. Just a ship Master Kenobi mentioned once. Some smuggler's pride and joy, apparently. They landed at a civilian spaceport, dressed in non-military clothing to avoid attention. Ben wore a simple brown jacket over a black shirt, while Ahsoka had swapped her usual attire for more subdued grays and blues, with a hood to partially conceal her distinctive montrals. Obi-Wan waited for them near the landing pad, similarly disguised in civilian clothes that made him look like a prosperous merchant. Only the lightsaber concealed beneath his jacket hinted at his true identity. Welcome to Corellia, he greeted them warmly. Our historian contact is expecting us at the University Archive in 1 hour. I trust your journey was uneventful. Unless you count Ben trying to teach clone troopers Earth card games, Ahsoka replied with a smirk. Hey, they picked up poker surprisingly fast, Ben defended. Though explaining why a full house beats 3 of a kind to guys with identical faces was weird. Obi-Wan chuckled. I'm pleased to see your spirits remain high despite the circumstances. Now, shall we proceed? It's best not to linger in public spaces. They took a public transport to the university district, maintaining casual conversation while keeping alert for any signs of surveillance. The city bustled with activity, merchants, students, workers, all going about their business with the brisk efficiency Corellia was known for. Seems peaceful, Ben observed. Hard to believe there's a war on. Corellia has maintained neutrality through clever political maneuvering, Obi-Wan explained quietly. Though they supply ships to the Republic, they've avoided becoming a military target through a complex web of trade agreements with both sides. Politics, Ben sighed. Some things are universal, I guess. The University of Corellia sprawled across several city blocks, its ancient buildings contrasting with the modern cityscape around them. They entered through the main gates, blending with the flow of students and faculty. The archives are in the eastern wing, Obi-Wan directed. Our contact, Professor Hilo Vis, is the curator of pre-Republic artifacts. They found the professor in a cluttered office surrounded by artifacts and data crystals. Hilo was a near-human with pale blue skin and 4 fingers on each hand, his white hair swept back from a high forehead. Master Kenobi, he greeted them, voice barely above a whisper. And companions. Please, secure the door. Ahsoka complied while Obi-Wan made introductions. Professor, this is Padawan Ahsoka Tano and Ben Tennyson, the young man I mentioned in my transmission. The dimensional traveler, Hilo nodded, studying Ben with undisguised fascination. Most extraordinary. I've theorized about parallel realities for decades, but to actually meet someone from another universe, truly remarkable. Thanks. Ben replied uncertainly. Master Kenobi said you might have information about something called the Infinity Gate. Indeed, Hilo turned to his computer terminal, typing rapidly. When the Jedi Archives contacted me, I was initially skeptical. The Infinity Gate is largely considered mythological, a convenient explanation for anomalous archaeological findings from the pre-Republic era. But you found something concrete, Obi-Wan prompted. Better than concrete, Hilo confirmed, retrieving a small crystal cube from a secure drawer. I found this. He placed the cube on a reader, and a hologram sprang to life above it, intricate schematics and ancient text in a language Ben didn't recognize. The original construction plans? Ahsoka asked incredulously. A fragment only, Hilo corrected. But enough to confirm the gate's existence and basic operational principles. More importantly, he manipulated the display to zoom in on a star chart. It contains coordinates. To the gate itself? Ben asked, hope rising. To a temple on Dantooine, Hilo explained. According to my translation, the temple contains a map room that, when activated properly, will reveal the location of the second Infinity Gate, the one that wasn't destroyed. Obi-Wan studied the coordinates intently. Dantooine is currently neutral territory, though there have been reports of separatist activity in the sector. The temple itself is in an isolated region, Hilo added. Long abandoned and largely forgotten. I doubt even the local settlers know of its significance. How does this help me get home? Ben asked, focusing on the practical question. Hilo's expression grew serious. If the texts are accurate, the Infinity Gate was designed to access not just distant points in space, but alternate dimensions, what the ancients called the spaces between spaces. Theoretically, it could create a stable pathway to your universe. Theoretically, Ben repeated, latching onto the qualifier. Any potential problems I should know about? Oh, numerous, Hilo admitted without hesitation. The power requirements alone are staggering. The ancients apparently used force-imbued crystals of unprecedented size to power the gate. And then there's the targeting issue, pinpointing a specific dimension among infinite possibilities. We'll tackle each challenge as it comes, Obi-Wan interjected smoothly, noticing Ben's expression falling. For now, securing these coordinates and reaching the temple is our priority. Hilo nodded, transferring the data to a small chip. Everything I've discovered is here. I must warn you, the temple will almost certainly have defenses. The ancients did not want the gate found by those they deemed unworthy. Ancient death traps are kind of our specialty, Ben assured him, accepting the chip. Thanks, Professor. As Hilo secured the original crystal, a muffled explosion rocked the building. Dust fell from the ceiling as alarms began blaring throughout the university. That came from the main entrance, Ahsoka said, lightsaber already in hand though not yet ignited. Obi-Wan activated his communicator. Cody, report. Separatist forces breaching the university perimeter, sir, came the clone commander's voice, partially obscured by static and weapons fire. Grievous is leading them personally. Ben's blood ran cold. The trap on Bothui, Grievous didn't take the bait. Or he did and this is someone else, Ahsoka suggested. Another explosion, closer this time, shook the office. We need to move, Obi-Wan decided, lightsaber in hand. Professor, is there another way out? The service tunnels, Hilo confirmed, pressing a concealed switch that revealed a hidden door behind a bookshelf. They run beneath the entire university complex. Go with the professor, Obi-Wan instructed Ben and Ahsoka. Get that data to safety. I'll delay any pursuit. Master, you can't face Grievous alone, Ahsoka protested. I won't engage him directly, Obi-Wan assured her. But someone needs to cover your escape, and I'm the logical choice. He's right, Ben reluctantly agreed. The data is what matters right now. Besides, he activated the Omnitrix, you're not going solo. In a flash of green light, Ben transformed into a slender, blue-skinned alien with black line patterns across his body and a long, serpentine tail instead of legs. Fast track. New one? Ahsoka asked, momentarily distracted despite the danger. Speed demon, Fast Track confirmed in a quick, slightly reverberating voice. I'll get Obi-Wan out if things get hairy. Obi-Wan nodded gratefully. We'll rendezvous at the secondary extraction point in 1 hour. May the Force be with you. And with you, Master, Ahsoka replied, disappearing into the tunnel after Hilo. Fast Track turned to Obi-Wan. Ready to make some noise? I believe that's your specialty, Obi-Wan replied with a slight smile, igniting his lightsaber. Shall we? They moved quickly through the corridors of the archives building, encountering panicked students and staff fleeing in the opposite direction. The sounds of battle grew louder as they approached the main hall, blaster fire, the distinctive hum of lightsabers, and the metallic clanking of battle droids. They emerged onto a balcony overlooking the grand entrance hall, now a battlefield. Clone troopers in plain clothes, Obi-Wan's security detail, fought desperately against waves of battle droids. In the center of the chaos stood General Grievous, for lightsabers spinning in lethal arcs as he cut down anyone who approached. Where is Tennyson? The cyborg general roared, his voice carrying over the din of battle. Bring me the Omnitrix bearer. He sounds upset, Fast Track commented. Maybe he needs a hug. I doubt that would improve his disposition, Obi-Wan replied dryly. Create a diversion on the eastern side. I'll engage him briefly to confirm this isn't a decoy. Fast Track nodded and zoomed away, his incredible speed making him almost invisible to the naked eye. He circled the battle, creating a blue blur that drew the attention of numerous battle droids. Using his momentum, he smashed through their ranks, scattering droid parts in his wake. What's this? Grievous paused his advance, head swiveling to track the blue streak demolishing his forces. Another of Tennyson's transformations. Obi-Wan seized the opportunity, leaping from the balcony to land in a clear space near Grievous. Hello there, he greeted with deliberate calm. Kenobi. Grievous snarled, instantly recognizing his longtime adversary. A pleasant surprise. I'll add your lightsaber to my collection today. I'm afraid I must decline your generous offer, Obi-Wan replied, settling into his defensive stance. I've grown rather attached to it. Grievous attacked with savage fury, all 4 lightsabers converging on Obi-Wan from different angles. The Jedi Master met the assault with his characteristic Sorisu defense, his single blue blade somehow intercepting each strike with minimal movement. Fast Track continued his hit-and-run attacks on the droid forces, creating chaos while monitoring the duel. When he saw Grievous pressing Obi-Wan back toward a corner, he changed course instantly. Obi-Wan, duck. Fast Track called. The Jedi Master dropped low without hesitation as Fast Track shot over him like a bullet, crashing into Grievous at nearly 200 miles per hour. The impact sent the cyborg general flying backward through a stone column. Time to go. Fast Track grabbed Obi-Wan and accelerated toward the nearest exit, avoiding blaster fire through sheer speed. Commendable timing, Obi-Wan commented as they burst through doors onto a side street. Though I fear we've confirmed Grievous is indeed targeting you specifically. Yeah, I'm popular that way, Fast Track replied, setting Obi-Wan down once they'd reached a safe distance. Let's hope Ahsoka and the Professor made it out okay. Obi-Wan checked his communicator. Commander Cody, status report. Heavy losses, sir, came the grim reply. We're falling back to secondary positions. Grievous brought significant forces, at least 2 battalions of battle droids. Maintain calm silence and proceed to extraction point Bravo, Obi-Wan ordered. We'll rendezvous there. As they made their way through Coronate City's back streets, Fast Track transformed back to human form, the Omnitrix timing out. Why would Grievous commit so many resources just to catch me? Ben wondered aloud. Even with the Omnitrix, it seems excessive. I've been wondering the same thing, Obi-Wan admitted. This level of focus suggests something beyond simple weapons acquisition. The Separatist leadership must believe the Omnitrix offers some decisive advantage. Or someone higher up is pulling the strings, Ben suggested. In my universe, there were always bigger fish behind the scenes. No offense to actual fish people. A concerning thought, Obi-Wan mused. And one that aligns with certain suspicions the Council has harbored. There may be more to this hunt than Grievous' typical obsession with collecting trophies. They reached the extraction point, a small commercial spaceport on the city's outskirts, to find Ahsoka and Professor Hilo already waiting aboard a unmarked transport. The professor looked shaken but unharmed. Master Kenobi. Ben. Ahsoka called in relief as they boarded. I was beginning to worry. It takes more than a few hundred battle droids to slow us down, Ben replied with forced confidence. Did you secure the data? Ahsoka patted her belt pouch. Safe and sound. The professor's coming with us to help interpret the temple markings. I couldn't stay after this, Hilo explained nervously. If the Separatists track my research to the university, my life is forfeit. You'll have Republic protection, Obi-Wan assured him. Now, we should depart before Grievous organizes a more thorough search of the spaceports. The transport lifted off smoothly, piloted by a clone trooper who had been waiting at the extraction point. As they ascended through Corellia's atmosphere, Ben gazed down at the sprawling cityscape, now partially obscured by smoke from the university attack. All those people, he said quietly. Just because Grievous is after me. This isn't your fault, Ahsoka told him firmly. The Separatists have been attacking civilian targets throughout the war. You didn't cause this. But I am connected to it, Ben replied. And it'll keep happening until we deal with Grievous and Psychoboss permanently. Which is precisely what we intend to do, Obi-Wan assured him. But first, we secure the Infinity Gate coordinates. One crisis at a time. Ben nodded, though he couldn't shake the feeling that these crises were converging rapidly, with him at the center. The journey to Dantooine took 16 hours in hyperspace, during which Ben finally managed a few hours of restless sleep. He dreamed of Bellwood, of his parents and Gwen and Kevin, all going about their lives, perhaps not even knowing he was missing. Or perhaps searching desperately for him across dimensions. He couldn't decide which scenario was worse. He woke to find Ahsoka sitting across from him in the transport's small crew quarters, meditating quietly. How do you do that? He asked, stretching stiff muscles. Just, shut everything out. Ahsoka opened her eyes. I don't shut it out. I acknowledge it, then let it flow through me without controlling me. That's what meditation is for Jedi, not escape, but perspective. Sounds complicated. Says the guy who turns into 70 different alien species, she countered with a small smile. Want to try? We've still got a few hours before we reach Dantooine. I'm not exactly Jedi material. Doesn't matter, she shrugged. The techniques work for anyone. Here, sit like this. Somewhat self-consciously, Ben mimicked her cross-legged position. Now close your eyes and focus on your breathing, Ahsoka instructed, her voice taking on a gentler quality. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Count each breath. Ben tried, feeling awkward and hyper-aware of Ahsoka's presence across from him. But after a few minutes, he found himself relaxing slightly, the rhythm of breathing creating a natural focus point. When thoughts come, and they will, don't fight them, Ahsoka continued softly. Just notice them, then return to your breath. Thoughts indeed came, worries about home, concerns about Grievous, memories of battles fought both in this universe and his own. Each time, Ben tried to acknowledge them without getting swept away, returning to the simple count of his breaths. He wasn't sure how much time had passed when Ahsoka spoke again. Not bad for a first attempt, she said, and he opened his eyes to find her watching him with something like approval. Did I do it right? He asked. There's no right or wrong with meditation, she replied. But you stayed with it longer than I expected. Most beginners give up after about 2 minutes. How long was I at it? Almost half an hour. Ben blinked in surprise. Didn't feel that long. That's usually a good sign, Ahsoka smiled. Maybe you've got more Jedi potential than you think. Before Ben could respond, the ship's intercom activated. "We're approaching Dantooine," Obi-Wan's voice announced. "Join me in the cockpit, if you would." Dantooine proved to be largely what Professor Hilo had described, a sparsely populated agricultural world with vast, rolling plains and scattered settlements. From orbit, it appeared peaceful and untouched by the war raging across the galaxy. "The temple coordinates indicate a location in the southern hemisphere," Hilo explained, pointing to a display. "A region the settlers call the Crystal Highlands, due to natural formations of semi-precious stones." "Any local population we need to worry about?" Obi-Wan asked. "Minimal," Hilo confirmed. "Primarily nomadic herders who avoid the highlands due to local superstitions about the temple ruins." "Convenient," Ben commented. "Ancient temples with deadly traps usually don't make great tourist attractions." They landed the transport in a valley about 2 kilometers from the temple coordinates, concealing it beneath a rocky outcropping. The air when they disembarked was clean and crisp, carrying the scent of wild grasses and distant water. "Reminds me of camping with Grandpa Max," Ben remarked, shouldering a pack of supplies. "Except, on an alien planet in another dimension." "The temple should be beyond that ridge," Hilo said, consulting a portable scanner. "I'm detecting significant energy readings despite its age." "That's not concerning at all," Ben muttered. They hiked through the valley and up a winding path that led into higher terrain. Crystal formations began appearing with increasing frequency, first small clusters embedded in rocks, then larger, freestanding structures that caught the sunlight and fractured it into rainbow patterns. "Beautiful," Ahsoka commented, pausing to examine a particularly large formation. "And potentially significant," Hilo added excitedly. "These crystals share properties with Kyber crystals used in lightsabers, though they lack the force resonance. The ancients may have used them to amplify the Infinity Gate's power. Or as part of the security system," Obi-Wan suggested more pragmatically. "We should proceed with caution." As they crested the ridge, the temple came into view, and Ben's breath caught in his throat. Unlike the primitive structure he had expected, this was a massive complex of gleaming white stone and crystal, built into the side of a mountain. Though clearly ancient, it appeared perfectly preserved, its surfaces unmarked by weather or time. "Okay, that's not normal," Ben stated. "Old temples are supposed to be crumbly and covered in vines, not looking like they were built yesterday." "The ancients employed construction techniques lost to modern knowledge," Hilo explained, his own voice awed. "Self-repairing materials, programmable matter, technologies we've only recently begun to rediscover. Impressive engineering aside, we should focus on locating the map room," Obi-Wan suggested. "Professor, any insights from your research?" Hilo consulted his data. "The main entrance should lead to a central chamber, from which various specialized rooms branch off. The map room would likely be in a position of prominence, perhaps the highest level." "Only one way to find out," Ben said, activating the Omnitrix. "Let me send a scout ahead." He transformed in a flash of green light, becoming a small, gray-skinned alien with large green eyes and an oversized cranium. "Gray matter. What can this one do?" Obi-Wan asked, studying the tiny form with interest. "Superintelligence," Gray matter explained in his high, slightly nasal voice. "I'll be able to analyze the temple's construction and identify potential traps or hidden entrances." "Impressive," Obi-Wan acknowledged. "Lead on, then." Gray matter scampered ahead, his diminutive size allowing him to examine details the others might miss. The temple entrance was a massive archway carved with symbols that gray matter immediately began deciphering. "Fascinating," he muttered. "This isn't just decorative, it's a warning and an instruction manual in one. It says, 'The worthy shall pass unmarked, the unworthy shall be unmade.' Charming. Can you determine what makes one worthy?" Obi-Wan asked. "The symbols suggest a test of intent rather than specific actions," Gray matter explained. "The ancients valued knowledge sought for enlightenment rather than power. Interesting philosophical distinction, though pragmatically challenging to implement as a security system." Unless they used Force-sensitive technology to literally sense intent, Ahsoka suggested. Precisely. Gray matter exclaimed, pointing excitedly at her. The crystals throughout the temple likely serve as conduits for such scanning. I'd hypothesize that entering with harmful intentions would trigger defensive measures. Then we proceed honestly, Obi-Wan decided. We seek the Infinity Gate to return Ben to his dimension, not for conquest or power. Speak for yourself, Hilo joked nervously. I'm here purely for academic glory. Professor, Obi-Wan warned. I jest, Hilo assured him hastily. Knowledge for its own sake is my only motivation. Gray matter continued his analysis as they cautiously entered the temple. Inside, the architecture was even more impressive, soaring ceilings supported by crystal columns, floors inlaid with precious metals in intricate patterns, and walls covered in the same symbolic language as the entrance. The patterns on the floor are actually a map, Gray matter realized after studying them for several minutes. See how they converge and diverge. They're showing energy flows throughout the temple. Can you determine which path leads to the map room? Obi-Wan asked. I believe so, Gray matter confirmed, tracing a particular line with his finger. This conduit carries significantly more energy than the others and leads to, there. He pointed to a spiral staircase at the far end of the entrance hall. Upper level, central chamber. As they approached the staircase, a low hum began emanating from the crystal columns. The sound gradually increased in pitch and volume until it became almost uncomfortable. Is that normal? Ahsoka asked, hands moving instinctively toward her lightsabers. I believe we're being scanned, Gray matter explained, watching as light patterns shifted within the nearest crystal. The temple is assessing our intentions. The humming peaked suddenly, then stopped altogether. For a moment, nothing happened, then the staircase began to glow with soft blue light, illuminating their path upward. I think we passed, Ben said, reverting to human form as the Omnitrix timed out. Indeed, Obi-Wan agreed. Though I suspect the tests have only begun. They ascended the staircase, which spiraled around a central crystal column of enormous size. As they climbed, Ben noticed the crystals seemed to contain something, shifting images or reflections that vanished when viewed directly. Are you seeing this? He asked Ahsoka quietly. The visions in the crystal, she replied. Yes. The force is strong here, showing glimpses of possibilities, I think. What do you see? She hesitated. Myself, but older. Wearing white robes and carrying white lightsabers. What about you? Ben focused on the crystal again. It's blurry, but I think I see myself at home, with my family. And also here, fighting alongside you. Both at the same time, somehow. Potential futures, Obi-Wan suggested from ahead of them. Or perhaps reflections of our deepest hopes and fears. Either way, we should not dwell on them. Such visions can be misleading. At the top of the staircase, they found a circular chamber dominated by a raised platform in the center. The platform contained what appeared to be a control console made entirely of crystal, with no obvious buttons or interfaces. The map room, Hilo breathed, approaching the console reverently. Exactly as described in the fragments. How do we activate it? Ben asked. The text spoke of offering truth to receive truth, Hilo recalled, consulting his notes. A symbolic exchange of knowledge. Or a literal one, Obi-Wan suggested, gesturing to a small depression in the console's surface. Perhaps we place the data crystal here. Hilo carefully inserted his data crystal into the depression. For a moment, nothing happened, then the entire room transformed. The walls, floor, and ceiling became transparent, revealing a three-dimensional star map of the entire galaxy surrounding them. Whoa, Ben breathed, turning slowly to take in the spectacular display. It's like standing inside a hologram. More than a hologram, Hilo corrected excitedly. This is a real-time representation of the galaxy as it exists now, not thousands of years ago when this temple was built. The technology required to maintain such accuracy over millennia is beyond anything we currently possess. Focus on our objective, Obi-Wan reminded them. How do we locate the Infinity Gate? Hilo approached the console again, studying its now active surface. According to the texts, we must identify ourselves and our purpose. How? Ben asked. There's no keyboard or microphone. Perhaps. Hilo placed his hand directly on the crystal surface. I am Hilo Vis, scholar of ancient knowledge, seeking the Infinity Gate to aid a traveler from another dimension. The star map shifted, countless systems blurring past as it zoomed in on a specific region of the outer rim. A single star system glowed brighter than the others, with one planet highlighted in pulsing blue light. The Mortis system, Obi-Wan identified with evident surprise. But that's impossible. You know it? Ben asked. Anakin, Ahsoka and I had an encounter there, Obi-Wan explained carefully. It's not exactly a normal planet. More a nexus of the Force itself. Which would make it the perfect location for a device that transcends dimensions, Hilo reasoned. The boundary between realities would be naturally thinner there. But we couldn't return to Mortis even if we wanted to, Ahsoka objected. It exists outside normal spacetime. The only reason we found it the first time was because it wanted to be found. The console pulsed, and new information appeared, coordinates, navigation instructions, and what appeared to be an activation sequence. The Infinity Gate isn't on Mortis itself, Hilo realized, reading the data. It's in orbit around it, disguised as a small moon. And these instructions explain how to access it, specific approach vectors, transmission codes, and rituals to perform upon arrival. Can we download this information? Obi-Wan asked. I believe so, Hilo confirmed, retrieving his data crystal, which now glowed with internal light. The console has transferred everything to the crystal. As they prepared to leave, Ben felt a strange sensation, like being watched. He turned to scan the room and froze as he spotted a figure standing in the shadows near the staircase. A figure in dark robes with a hood concealing its face. Guys? Ben called, activating the Omnitrix. We've got company. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka turned instantly, lightsabers igniting in unison. The hooded figure made no move to attack or flee, simply standing motionless in the shadows. Identify yourself, Obi-Wan demanded. Fascinating, the figure replied, its voice a cultured, elderly male tone that nonetheless carried immense authority. A visitor from another reality. The Force works in mysterious ways indeed. The figure stepped forward, pushing back his hood to reveal an elderly human man with white hair and distinguished features. Though his appearance was benign, Ben felt an instinctive warning from the Omnitrix, a subtle vibration against his wrist. Chancellor Palpatine. Ahsoka exclaimed in obvious confusion. What are you doing here? Following the will of the Force, my dear, Palpatine replied with a grandfatherly smile that didn't reach his eyes. Just as you are. The Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, here on Dantooine without security or announcement. Obi-Wan's tone carried clear suspicion. Forgive me, Chancellor, but that seems highly irregular. These are irregular times, Master Kenobi, Palpatine replied smoothly. When I received intelligence about a potential weapon of immense power, I felt compelled to investigate personally. The Senate committee would have delayed action for weeks with debates and votes. How did you find this place? Ben asked, finger hovering over the Omnitrix dial. Something about this man felt deeply wrong, setting off his hero instincts. The same way you did, young man, Palpatine smiled. Through scholarly research and a bit of good fortune. Though I must admit, finding you here is an unexpected bonus. Us specifically? Obi-Wan pressed. Word of young Mr. Tennyson's unique abilities has spread, even to the highest levels of government, Palpatine explained. When reports came in about your team pursuing ancient technology that might return him home, I became curious. The Republic is tracking our movements? Ahsoka asked, clearly troubled. Merely taking an interest in significant developments, Palpatine corrected gently. Particularly those that might impact the war effort. Speaking of which, he turned to Hilo, I believe you've located something of great importance, Professor. Hilo clutched the data crystal protectively. With respect, Chancellor, this information is potentially dangerous in the wrong hands. Until the Jedi Council has evaluated it, the Council. Palpatine's expression hardened momentarily before smoothing into disappointment. I had hoped for more trust between us, given our shared goals. But very well. He stepped aside, gesturing toward the staircase. You may proceed with your mission. I shall inform the Senate that the matter is under Jedi jurisdiction. The too easy acquiescence only heightened Ben's suspicion. As they cautiously moved past Palpatine toward the stairs, Ben noticed the old man's gaze fixed on the Omnitrix with barely disguised hunger. They had descended only a few steps when a mechanical clanking echoed from below, accompanied by the unmistakable sound of marching battle droids. Separatists? Ahsoka whispered incredulously. Here. Not just separatists, came a rasping, all too familiar voice from the bottom of the stairs. I've come personally to collect what's mine. General Grievous emerged into view, flanked by Magna Guards and battle droids. Behind Ben, Chancellor Palpatine sighed with theatrical weariness. It appears we're caught in a most unfortunate situation, the Chancellor observed. Grievous must have followed you here. Or followed you, Ben countered, unable to shake his growing suspicion. Convenient timing, isn't it? Palpatine's eyes narrowed slightly. What exactly are you implying, young man? Nothing, Obi-Wan interjected smoothly. The stress of the situation speaks through him. Chancellor, stay behind us. We'll handle Grievous. With pleasure, Master Jedi, Palpatine replied, moving to what appeared to be a safe distance. Ben transformed in a flash of green light. Diamond Head. His crystalline body gleamed in the temple's light as he created a barrier of crystal between their position and the advancing droids. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka took defensive positions on either side of him. Get the Professor and the Chancellor to safety, Obi-Wan instructed Ahsoka. Ben and I will hold them here. But Master, that's an order, Padawan, Obi-Wan said firmly. The data must reach Coruscant. Reluctantly, Ahsoka nodded, turning to guide Hilo and Palpatine toward an alternate exit Diamond Head had spotted during their arrival, a smaller passageway branching from the main chamber. We'll meet at the ship. She called back, disappearing with the others into the side passage. Diamond Head reinforced his crystal barrier as blaster fire began impacting it from below. Just like old times, huh? Trapped in an ancient temple with killer robots? I don't recall that being a regular occurrence, Obi-Wan replied dryly, lightsaber at the ready. But I appreciate your optimism. Grievous' voice echoed up the stairwell. Surrender the Omnitrix, Tennyson, and I might allow Kenobi to live long enough to witness your dissection. Charming offer, but I'll pass, Diamond Head called back. How about you surrender, and I don't turn you into a modern art sculpture? The crystal barrier suddenly exploded inward as Grievous launched himself through it, all 4 lightsabers activated. Diamond Head barely had time to form a crystal shield on his arm before 2 of the blades crashed against it. Persistent, aren't you? Diamond Head grunted, pushing back with his considerable strength. Obi-Wan engaged the other 2 lightsabers, his single blue blade moving with precision to counter Grievous' wild slashes. I grow tired of this chase, Grievous snarled. Lord Sidious wants the Omnitrix, and I intend to deliver it. Lord who now? Diamond Head asked, momentarily confused before having to duck another savage attack. Battle droids poured up the staircase, forcing Diamond Head to split his attention between Grievous and the new threats. He fired crystal shards that impaled several droids, then created a crystal wall that blocked the staircase entirely. That won't hold them long, he warned Obi-Wan, turning back to help with Grievous. The cyborg general was pressing his advantage against Obi-Wan, driving the Jedi Master back toward the edge of the platform. Though Obi-Wan's defense was masterful, the sheer fury and multidirectional nature of Grievous' assault made it nearly impossible to counterattack. Diamond Head charged Grievous from behind, his arm formed into a massive crystal blade. Grievous sensed the attack and spun with inhuman speed, catching the crystal blade between two lightsabers while maintaining pressure on Obi-Wan with his other arms. Impressive adaptation, Grievous observed. But futile. Your Omnitrix will soon serve a greater purpose than your childish heroics. Yeah. What purpose is that? Diamond Head grunted, struggling against Grievous' mechanical strength. The reshaping of the galaxy, Grievous replied. Though you won't live to see it. With a sudden surge of power, Grievous forced Diamond Head back, creating space to fully engage both opponents. His four arms became a whirlwind of plasma blades, keeping both Obi-Wan and Diamond Head on the defensive. Behind them, the crystal barrier blocking the stairs began to crack as battle droids worked to break through. They were running out of time and space. Any brilliant ideas? Diamond Head asked Obi-Wan as they found themselves back to back. The central crystal column, Obi-Wan replied quietly. If we can bring it down. Diamond Head caught on immediately. Distract him for 10 seconds. Obi-Wan nodded and launched himself at Grievous with renewed vigor, his lightsaber a blue blur as he executed a complex series of attacks that forced the general to focus entirely on defense. Meanwhile, Diamond Head placed both hands on the floor, channeling his powers into the temple's structure. Crystal spikes erupted from the floor around the central column, weakening its base. Then, with a massive effort, he created a battering ram of solid crystal that slammed into the column at its weakest point. The column cracked with a sound like thunder, crystal fragments exploding outward. The entire chamber shuddered as the support began to fail. Time to go. Diamond Head called, grabbing Obi-Wan and leaping toward the side passage Ahsoka had taken. Grievous howled in fury as the floor beneath him began to collapse. With inhuman agility, he leapt after them, metal claws digging into the walls to propel himself forward. Diamond Head and Obi-Wan raced through the narrow passage, the sounds of destruction growing behind them. The entire temple appeared to be collapsing, the ancient structure finally giving way after millennia of perfect preservation. I hope Ahsoka got clear, Diamond Head said as they emerged onto a narrow ledge overlooking a steep drop. She would have taken the most direct route to the ship, Obi-Wan replied, pointing to a path that switched back down the mountainside. They had just started down when Grievous burst from the temple behind them, his cape torn and armor dented but otherwise unharmed. You cannot escape, he roared, launching himself down the path after them. He's really committed to this, isn't he? Diamond Head observed, firing crystal shards to slow Grievous' advance. Grievous has never been one to abandon a hunt, Obi-Wan confirmed. Particularly when his master's orders are involved. About that, who's this Sidious he mentioned? A Sith Lord, Obi-Wan explained grimly. The one we believe controls the separatist leadership from the shadows. If he's taken personal interest in the Omnitrix. That can't be good, Diamond Head finished. Another power-hungry villain after my watch. Just what I needed. They continued their descent, staying just ahead of Grievous while the temple collapsed spectacularly behind them. By the time they reached the valley floor, the entire structure had crumbled into the mountainside, leaving only a massive cloud of dust and debris. I see the ship. Obi-Wan pointed to where their transport was powering up, its ramp still extended. Ahsoka stood at the base of the ramp, lightsabers activated as she fought off the remaining battle droids that had somehow circled around to cut off their escape. Hilo was nowhere to be seen, presumably already aboard, but neither was Chancellor Palpatine. Where's the Chancellor? Obi-Wan called as they reached Ahsoka's position. He insisted on taking a different route. Ahsoka replied, deflecting blaster bolts. Said he had his own extraction team nearby. Before Obi-Wan could respond, Grievous landed with a thunderous impact behind them, all four lightsabers igniting simultaneously. Go! Diamond Head shouted to Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. I'll hold him off. We're not leaving you. Ahsoka protested. Not planning to stay behind, Diamond had assured her, transforming again in a flash of green light. Humungosaur. The massive dinosaur-like alien towered over Grievous, who momentarily faltered at facing an opponent more than twice his size. Humungosaur used the hesitation to his advantage, swinging a massive fist that caught Grievous square in the chest, sending him flying backward into a rock formation. Run! Humungosaur bellowed, turning to follow Ahsoka and Obi-Wan up the ramp. The ship lifted off as soon as they were aboard, acceleration throwing them against the bulkheads as the pilot, Commander Cody, executed an emergency takeoff. Cutting it close, sirs, Cody commented from the cockpit. We've got Separatist fighters inbound from orbit. The Professor? Obi-Wan asked urgently. Secured in the crew quarters, sir, Cody confirmed. Though he's rather shaken. Humungosaur transformed back to Ben, the Omnitrix timing out from the rapid sequence of transformations. He slumped against the bulkhead, exhausted but relieved. So, he managed between breaths, did we get what we needed? Ahsoka nodded, patting her belt pouch. Coordinates to the Infinity Gate, and activation protocols. If the data is accurate, we may have found your ticket home. Despite his exhaustion, Ben felt a surge of conflicting emotions at her words. Home, the goal he'd been working toward for weeks, suddenly felt both tantalizingly close and strangely bittersweet. What about the Chancellor? Obi-Wan asked, his expression troubled. His presence here remains deeply concerning. And convenient, Ben added. Too convenient, if you ask me. What are you suggesting? Ahsoka asked. Ben hesitated, aware of how outlandish his suspicion might sound. I don't know exactly. But the timing of his appearance, then Grievous showing up minutes later, and did you notice how Grievous mentioned someone called Lord Sidious wanting the Omnitrix? Obi-Wan's expression grew grave. The coincidence is troubling. We must report this to the Council immediately upon our return to Coruscant. The ship shuddered as it broke atmosphere, followed by the distinctive sound of laser fire impacting their shields. Separatist cruiser in orbit. Cody called from the cockpit. Hyperspace calculations in progress. Can we outrun them? Ahsoka asked, moving toward the cockpit. Not in this transport, Cody replied grimly. But I might be able to lose them in the planet's rings long enough to make the jump. Ben followed Ahsoka, studying the tactical display. The Separatist cruiser was massive compared to their small transport, its hangars disgorging squadrons of droid fighters. I could buy us time, Ben suggested, activating the Omnitrix again. Something that can fly in space, Jet Ray or Astrodactyl. Too risky, Obi-Wan decided. If captured, you and the Omnitrix would be exactly what they're after. We need a different solution. Before anyone could suggest alternatives, a new contact appeared on the scanner, a Republic Star Destroyer dropping out of hyperspace on the far side of the system. The Resolute. Ahsoka exclaimed. Anakin must have followed us. Incoming transmission, Cody reported, activating the comm system. Anakin's voice filled the cockpit. Thought you could use some backup, Master. Our scanners show you've got company. Perfect timing, as usual, Obi-Wan replied with evident relief. We have critical data that must reach Coruscant securely. Then let's clear you a path, Anakin responded. Make for these coordinates, we'll cover your escape. The Resolute launched fighter squadrons that engaged the Separatist forces, creating the diversion they needed. Cody piloted their transport through the chaos with impressive skill, evading pursuit long enough to make the jump to hyperspace. As the stars stretched into blue lines around them, Ben felt himself finally relaxing. They had the coordinates to the Infinity Gate. Home was within reach. So why did the victory feel incomplete? The return to Coruscant brought a flurry of activity. The Jedi Council convened an emergency session to review the Infinity Gate data and discuss Chancellor Palpatine's unexpected appearance on Dantooine. Meanwhile, Professor Hilo worked with Republic scientists to analyze the activation protocols and determine the power requirements for opening a dimensional portal. Ben found himself in an unusual position, simultaneously the center of attention and strangely detached from the proceedings. As others debated the implications of his potential return home, he wandered the Jedi Temple gardens, trying to sort through his conflicted feelings. That's where Ahsoka found him on the third evening after their return, sitting beside a small pond watching the sunset paint Coruscant's endless cityscape in shades of gold and amber. "Credit for your thoughts?" she asked, sitting beside him. "Probably not worth that much," Ben replied with a half-smile. "Just thinking. About going home?" "Yeah. And about staying." Ahsoka looked surprised. "You're considering staying? What about your family? Your friends?" "I miss them every day," Ben admitted. "But here. I'm making a difference in a war that affects trillions of lives. Back home, I was just stopping the alien threat of the week. Here, it feels bigger somehow." "The hero complex," Ahsoka nodded with understanding. "Trust me, I get it. But Ben, your universe needs you too. You have a life there." "I know. It's just." He trailed off, struggling to articulate his feelings. "I've made connections here. With you, with Anakin, with the clones. The thought of never seeing any of you again. Is that what this is really about?" Ahsoka asked gently. "The people, not the cause." Ben met her gaze, then looked away quickly. "Maybe. I don't know." They sat in companionable silence for several minutes, watching as the last rays of sunlight gave way to Coruscant's never-ending city lights. "The Council has reached a decision," Ahsoka finally said. "We're authorized to attempt accessing the Infinity Gate. Master Yoda believes it represents your best chance of returning home." "When?" 2 days from now. A small team, you, me, Anakin, and Obi-Wan. Master Yoda insisted on accompanying us personally." "Sounds serious." "It is," Ahsoka confirmed. "The Infinity Gate isn't just a doorway between dimensions, it's potentially one of the most powerful artifacts in the galaxy. If it falls into Separatist hands. Or Sith hands," Ben added, recalling Grievous' mention of Lord Sidious. "Exactly. Which brings me to the other news," Ahsoka continued, her voice dropping. "The Council is investigating Chancellor Palpatine's actions. His presence on Dantooine, coinciding with Grievous' attack, has raised serious concerns." "I knew something felt off about that guy," Ben said. "Even the Omnitrix reacted to him, like it sensed danger. Master Windu has long harbored reservations about the Chancellor's accumulation of power," Ahsoka explained. "This incident may confirm his suspicions." "Politics," Ben sighed. "Some things really are universal." Ahsoka smiled, then grew serious again. "Whatever you decide, Ben, about staying or going, I just want you to know, having you here has been pretty amazing. Even when I nearly got us killed multiple times. Especially then," she laughed. "It's not every day I get to fight alongside someone who can turn into 70 different aliens." 72 now, actually, Ben corrected proudly. "I unlocked 2 new ones during that battle on Felucia." "Show off," Ahsoka nudged his shoulder playfully. As they continued talking into the evening, Ben found clarity gradually replacing his confusion. Whatever choice he ultimately made, he realized it needed to be for the right reasons, not fear of loss, but purpose and responsibility. The hero's path was rarely the easy one. The day of their departure arrived with little fanfare but considerable tension. The mission was classified at the highest level, with only the Jedi Council and a select few Republic officers aware of their destination. The official record showed them investigating separatist movements in an unrelated sector. They gathered at a secure landing platform where a specialized Republic cruiser awaited, the Twilight II, Anakin explained proudly, a significant upgrade from his original personal vessel. Custom hyperspace engines, advanced cloaking technology, and enough firepower to handle anything short of a capital ship, Anakin detailed as they boarded. Plus, I added some special modifications of my own. Let me guess, Obi-Wan sighed. Nothing regulation approved? Would you expect anything less? Anakin grinned. Master Yoda was the last to arrive, accompanied by Mace Windu. The diminutive Grand Master carried only his lightsaber and walking stick, yet somehow projected more authority than a battalion of clone troopers. Ready for this journey, are you? Yoda asked Ben directly. As ready as I'll ever be, Ben replied honestly. Though I still have questions about how exactly this is supposed to work. The Infinity Gate will respond to your unique dimensional signature, Windu explained. According to the ancient texts, it can create a pathway to the exact reality you came from, using the Omnitrix as a homing beacon. Assuming the texts are accurate, Obi-Wan added. We're venturing into largely unknown territory. Trust in the Force, we must, Yoda stated simply. Guide us, it will. As final preparations were completed, Ben performed a ritual he'd developed over his years as a hero, checking the Omnitrix one last time, making sure it was fully charged and operational. Whatever awaited them at the Infinity Gate, he wanted all 72 aliens ready for action. Pre-flight checks complete, Anakin announced from the pilot's seat. We're clear for departure. May the Force be with you, Windu said formally, stepping back from the boarding ramp. And with you, Master Windu, Obi-Wan replied. We shall return as soon as possible. The ship lifted off smoothly, accelerating through Coruscant's atmosphere and into the blackness of space. Once clear of the planet's gravity well, Anakin input the coordinates from Professor Hylo's data crystal. Coordinates locked, he confirmed. Jumping to hyperspace in 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched into blue streaks as the ship entered hyperspace, beginning the journey to the mysterious Mortis system. According to the navigation computer, they would arrive in approximately 10 hours. Ben spent much of the journey in meditation, a practice he'd continued since Ahsoka first taught him. Though still a beginner, he found the quiet focus helped calm his nerves and clarify his thoughts. As they drew closer to the Infinity Gate, and potentially his way home, the decision he faced weighed heavily on his mind. In the ship's small common area, the Jedi discussed their approach strategy, consulting the ancient instructions provided by the temple map room. The gate appears as a small moon, but it's actually an artificial construct, Obi-Wan explained, examining the holographic representation. We must approach from this specific vector and transmit these recognition codes. The codes are over 5,000 years old, Anakin pointed out skeptically. Will they still work? If built properly, they should, Obi-Wan replied. Ancient technology often prioritized longevity over efficiency. And if they don't? Ben asked. Then we improvise, Anakin grinned. My specialty. Your specialty is getting us into trouble, Ahsoka corrected. Master Obi-Wan's specialty is getting us out of it. A teamwork approach I've reluctantly perfected over many years, Obi-Wan sighed, though his eyes twinkled with amusement. As they continued planning, Ben found himself studying these people who had become his friends and allies. Anakin's confident leadership, Obi-Wan's measured wisdom, Ahsoka's fierce loyalty, and Master Yoda's inscrutable guidance, each had taught him something valuable during his time in their universe. Whatever happened next, he realized, he wouldn't be the same Ben Tennyson who had accidentally triggered the Omnitrix malfunction weeks ago. This experience had changed him, perhaps in ways he wouldn't fully understand until he returned home, if he returned home. The ship's alert system interrupted his thoughts, signaling their approach to the Mortis system. Everyone moved to the cockpit as Anakin guided them out of hyperspace. The view that greeted them was both stunning and unsettling. Where normal space should have contained stars, planets, and the usual celestial bodies, this region appeared distorted, colors shifting in impossible ways, spatial dimensions seeming to fold and unfold around them. The Mortis anomaly, Obi-Wan identified. Just as we experienced before. I don't see any moon or gate, Ben said, scanning the disorienting vista. There, Yoda pointed with his gnarled finger. Sense it, I do. At first, Ben saw nothing. Then, as if responding to Yoda's acknowledgement, a shape began to coalesce from the spatial distortion, a perfect sphere approximately the size of Earth's moon, but gleaming with an iridescent surface that reflected light that wasn't there. The Infinity Gate, Ahsoka breathed. Initiating approach vector, Anakin reported, carefully guiding the ship along the path specified in the ancient instructions. Transmitting recognition codes, now. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then the surface of the spherical structure began to shift, panels realigning to reveal what appeared to be a massive docking bay. I guess they recognized us, Ben remarked, trying to mask his nervousness with humor. Or recognized something, Obi-Wan cautioned. Remain alert. Ancient security systems can be unpredictable. Anakin guided the ship into the docking bay, which was large enough to accommodate vessels many times their size. As they landed, the entry portal sealed behind them, momentarily plunging the bay into darkness before soft, ambient lighting activated along the walls and floor. Atmosphere is breathable, Anakin confirmed, checking the ship's sensors. Gravity slightly stronger than standard, but within normal parameters. Proceed with caution, we should, Yoda advised. Strong, the Force is here. Difficult to see clearly. They disembarked, Ben feeling a strange sense of déjà vu as his boots touched the floor of the ancient structure. The architecture reminded him of the temple on Dantooine, but on a vastly larger scale, crystalline surfaces, flowing lines, and symbols etched into every surface. This way, Obi-Wan directed, consulting the activation protocols. The central chamber should be accessible through that corridor. They moved through the structure in tight formation, lightsabers in hand but not ignited. Ben kept the Omnitrix ready, prepared to transform at the first sign of trouble. The corridors seemed to respond to their presence, lighting their path as they progressed deeper into the structure. Anyone else feel like we're being watched? Ben asked quietly. The entire structure is likely sentient on some level, Obi-Wan theorized. Not alive in the conventional sense, but aware. Comforting, Ben muttered. They reached a massive circular doorway that slid open silently at their approach, revealing a chamber that defied conventional understanding of space. Though clearly enclosed, it seemed to contain an entire cosmos within its boundaries, stars, nebulae, and swirling galaxies suspended in what appeared to be both liquid and gas simultaneously. At the center of this impossible space floated a platform supporting a structure that resembled the Omnitrix symbol, a circle with 4 protrusions extending outward at compass points. The gate itself, Obi-Wan identified. A transparent bridge formed as they watched, connecting the doorway to the central platform. As they cautiously crossed, Ben felt the Omnitrix growing warm against his wrist, pulsing with energy that synchronized with the larger structure ahead. It's responding to your presence, Ahsoka noted, watching the interaction with fascination. When they reached the central platform, the cosmic display around them shifted, resolving into distinct realities, countless versions of what appeared to be Earth and other familiar worlds, each slightly different from the next. The multiverse, Ben breathed, recognizing the concept from his encounters with Professor Paradox. Every possible reality. How do we find yours? Anakin asked pragmatically. In answer, the Omnitrix suddenly projected a beam of green energy toward the gate structure. The beam connected with the center of the device, causing it to rotate slowly. As it turned, the multiverse display shifted, realities blurring past until one particular version of Earth came into focus. That's it, Ben confirmed, recognizing Bellwood instantly. That's my home. The gate structure completed its rotation, locking into position with an audible click. A portal began forming within its frame, small at first, then expanding until it was large enough for a person to step through. Through the opening, Ben could see Bellwood Park, the exact location where he'd disappeared weeks ago. The pathway is established, Obi-Wan observed. According to the protocols, it will remain stable for approximately 10 minutes before collapsing. Not much time for goodbyes, Ben said, suddenly overwhelmed by the finality of the moment. 10 minutes is forever in our line of work, Anakin replied with a half-smile. Usually we're saying goodbye while running from explosions. Or while creating them, Ahsoka added. The moment of levity broke as an alarm suddenly blared throughout the chamber. The cosmic display rippled with disturbance, and a second bridge formed connecting the central platform to another entrance that had appeared opposite their arrival point. We have company, Anakin warned, igniting his lightsaber. The others followed suit, blue and green blades casting eerie light across the platform. Battle droids emerged first, marching in perfect formation across the new bridge. Behind them came the hulking form of General Grievous, and beside him, to Ben's shock, Chancellor Palpatine. "Ah, Master Jedi," Palpatine greeted them pleasantly, as if encountering them at a senatorial reception rather than an ancient dimensional nexus. "How fortunate that you've completed the difficult work of activating the gate for us." "Chancellor." Obi-Wan's confusion was evident. "What is the meaning of this? Why are you with General Grievous?" "Oh, I believe young Mr. Tennyson already suspects the answer to that," Palpatine replied, his kindly demeanor falling away like a discarded mask. "He sensed what you Jedi have been too blind to see for years." Yoda stepped forward, his lightsaber igniting. "Revealed yourself at last, you have. The Sith Lord we sought." "Lord Sidious," Ben realized aloud, remembering Grievous' words on Dantooine. "You're the one controlling both sides of the war." Palpatine, or Sidious, smiled coldly. "Perceptive for one so young. A shame you won't live to share this insight with others. How did you find this place?" Anakin demanded, clearly struggling to reconcile the trusted Chancellor with this revelation. "I placed a tracking device on your ship before you left Coruscant," Sidious explained casually. "A simple precaution. As for how I arrived before you," he gestured dismissively, "there are faster ways to travel than conventional hyperspace when one knows the proper techniques." "The dark side," Obi-Wan concluded grimly. "The efficient side," Sidious corrected. "Now, as pleasant as this reunion is, I believe Mr. Tennyson was just leaving." His eyes fixed on the portal showing Bellwood. "Though not before surrendering the Omnitrix." "Not happening," Ben declared, activating the device. "It's hero time." He transformed in a flash of green light, becoming a crystalline humanoid with rainbow-refractive skin. Chroma Stone. Grievous immediately charged forward, lightsabers whirling, while the battle droids opened fire. Chroma Stone absorbed the blaster bolts, converting their energy into powerful rainbow-colored beams that he directed back at the attackers. Yoda and Obi-Wan moved to intercept Grievous, while Anakin and Ahsoka defended against the battle droids. Sidious watched the conflict with apparent amusement, making no move to join directly. "Ben, the portal." Ahsoka called, deflecting blaster fire. "It's destabilizing." Chroma Stone glanced back to see the gateway to Bellwood flickering, its edges becoming indistinct. The conflict was disrupting the delicate dimensional alignment. "I can't leave you guys to face this alone," he protested. "We can handle them," Anakin insisted, force pushing a group of battle droids off the bridge. "Your universe needs you." Chroma Stone hesitated, torn between responsibility to his home and loyalty to his friends. In that moment of distraction, Grievous broke through Obi-Wan's defense, his mechanical leg connecting with the Jedi Master's chest and sending him sprawling. "Master!" Ahsoka cried, momentarily distracted. Sidious seized the opportunity, raising his hands to unleash a torrent of force lightning at the young Padawan. Chroma Stone reacted instantly, leaping into the path of the attack and absorbing the energy into his crystalline body. "Interesting," Sidious observed, increasing the intensity of his assault. "Your forms are quite versatile, aren't they?" Chroma Stone's body glowed brighter as he absorbed the continuous lightning, storing more energy than he had ever contained before. The power threatened to overwhelm him, cracks appearing across his crystalline surface. "Can't hold much more," he grunted, feeling the Omnitrix struggling to maintain the transformation under the strain. "Ben, go!" Ahsoka shouted, helping Obi-Wan to his feet. The portal won't last much longer. I won't leave you to die. Chromastone insisted. We won't die today, Anakin promised, cutting down 3 more battle droids. But your chance to get home will. Yoda, who had been engaging multiple opponents simultaneously, paused briefly to fix Ben with his ancient gaze. Choose you must, young Tennyson. But remember, heroes needed in all universes are. In that moment of clarity, Ben made his decision. He would not abandon his friends, but he could potentially save both worlds with one action. Everyone get down, he shouted, his body now glowing white-hot with stored energy. The Jedi responded instantly, dropping to the platform as Chromastone released all the absorbed energy in a massive omnidirectional blast. The explosion caught Grievous, Sidious, and the remaining battle droids in its radius, sending them flying backward. In the momentary reprieve, Chromastone rushed to the portal, which was now barely stable. Ben, what are you doing? Ahsoka called, confused by his apparent retreat. What heroes do, he replied, slapping the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. In a flash of green light far brighter than usual, he transformed into an alien he had never used before, tall and humanoid with white skin marked by green circuitry patterns. A crystalline horn projected from his head, and the Omnitrix symbol on his chest pulsed with unprecedented energy. Atomix. What is that form? Obi-Wan asked in amazement as he regrouped with the others. Something new, Atomix replied, his voice deep and resonant. Something with enough power to end this. Sidious recovered from the blast, his outer robes singed but otherwise unharmed. His eyes narrowed as he studied Ben's new form. Impressive. All the more reason why the Omnitrix belongs in more strategic hands. Not gonna happen, Atomix declared, raising his hands as glowing green energy gathered between them. HMENA. The energy coalesced into a sphere of blinding intensity, a miniature nuclear reaction contained by Atomix's powers. Nuclear winner. He hurled the energy sphere not at Sidious or Grievous, but at the gate structure itself. The impact was catastrophic, the ancient device absorbing the nuclear energy before beginning to overload, dimensional energies cascading outward in waves. What have you done? Sidious demanded, his composure finally breaking. Created a choice, Atomix replied. The gate is destabilizing. In about 30 seconds, it'll collapse, sealing the connection between our universes permanently, cutting off your access to Omnitrix technology forever. He turned to his friends. And giving you a chance to escape while Sidious decides what matters more, capturing me or saving himself. Ahsoka stepped forward, understanding dawning in her eyes. You're staying. I'm going home, Atomix corrected, gesturing to the flickering portal behind him. But not before making sure you all get out safely. Ben, she began, but he cut her off. No time for dramatic goodbyes, he insisted. The ship. Now. Yoda nodded in understanding. Wise decision, young Tennyson. A true Jedi's sacrifice, this is. I'm no Jedi, Atomix replied with a smile in his voice. Just a kid with a watch who learned from the best. The gate structure began to disintegrate, dimensional energies tearing at the very fabric of the chamber around them. Grievous was already retreating, self-preservation overriding his mission objectives. Sidious remained, his face contorted with fury and calculation. This isn't over, the Sith Lord promised. There are other ways between something went wrong with this response, please try again. Move on to the next chapter. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.